So what are we doing?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. As I unmute all the scenes and move. So we've been doing structure decks.
Oh, we're
And the
starting.
next-
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't even realize you were on.
No, yeah, I was chilling. It's because I got here at like 5 minutes to 7, and I was like, I don't want to wait 15 more minutes. So I scooched it up a little. But today's episode will be Chaos Dragons because, like I said, we talk about structure decks, and the next one on the line is actually shown on screen for once. I almost never remember to do that. The Dragons Collide structure deck featuring Dark Flare and Light Pulsar right there on the cover. And I figured we could use this as an opportunity to kind of talk about the history of, like, Chaos as a concept, because that's obviously very long-running, and there's a handful of other things going on. Actually, let the Discord know. It's live. And we can also, while waiting for people, stall out a little bit and talk about, new cards, some sort of champ. Because Konami did actually get with some content creators and did show off all the new Odeon stuff for Maze of the Master.
Oh, they have? Nice.
Yeah. So there's a full set list as well. Let me grab that just to see what's in the set. Because this is a conversation I was having with a few people in the Discord about, like, what's coming, when things are coming, sort of thing. Both of the previous Maze sets have been pretty good. Like, obviously, Gate Guardian and Flame Swordsman didn't become meta or anything, but Flame Swordsman wasn't a deck, and now is a deck. And while Gate Guardian was a deck, it was very bad, and the new Gate Guardian stuff is, at the very least, eminently splashable in a lot of other engines.
Like Kashtira.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so,
no,
it works out.
all the new Gate Guardian support is interesting in a, like, just a kind of mid-range vibe of playstyle where it does just have a very consistent game plan and just a lot of ways to get to the field spell, get the field spell set up, and keep its pace going.
Yeah. Like, they could use a little more, support, some actual further main deck monsters to fill out so that, like, I mean, I'm still on that fucking Elemental Hero Prisma tech, right? Like, just like, what do you do when you get a grip that doesn't have enough Gate Guardian pieces? You're like, well, fuck it, Prisma, bin a guy. Like, it's not perfect, but it's a damn sight better than it was by giving it a pretty, consistent extra deck strategy of the Contact Fusion. And also, talking about mid-range decks, right? Gate Guardian is a deck that is just a pain in the ass to get through because, like, assuming your opponent makes big Gate Guardian, combined, right? Well, that guy floats into one of the 2s. You get rid of the 2, keep in mind that each of the 2s have their own effects, all of which are fairly annoying. I think the quote-unquote least good one is the one that searches a spell trap, but even then, that's like a pop. But you work through the 2, that turns back in one of the 1s, and those guys do actually have really annoying effects still. Like,
Oh yeah, all the big retrains are still really good with the Gate Guardian shit.
and even like when you get down to just, okay, Sangha on the board, guess what? They still have that really annoying, like, Gate Guardian pieces were always, like, good monsters. It's just that they weren't worth the 2 tribute. And there was no, like, good deck to get them on board easily.
Yeah, like ages ago when we did that, I don't even remember if it was on stream. I think we just did it at some point where we just did a shitty tag duel where you and I, like, made 2 halves of a Gate Guardian deck.
Yeah. We just became the Paradox Brothers.
Yeah, and we were playing some hot ass, like, Kaiser Vorse Raider tribute. Like we were just playing every just generic nonsense card that is designed to turbo out tribute summons, and it was bad. it there like I said, there was just no real deck that actually made the Gate Guardians like strategy work.
Yeah, and now the deck does do that. Like, all their spell traps are pretty good. They probably just could use another couple of retrained monsters of shit like Dungeon Worm and Monster Tamer and some of the other bullshit guys the brothers played to just, like, again, give them an alternative to playing a fucking Magician Soul's Illusion of Chaos package because Kazejin is a spellcaster type beat. Like, there's still some jank in there, but it's a great improvement. And Flame Swordsman is the same way. Like, that's a deck that, like, there still aren't enough cards that you can run it pure, but, like, it is truly Tenpai for the budget conscious. Like, there's
hell,
something
like,
there.
They didn't really do too much in GX, but like you could even do like a Dark Guardian retrain or I guess not even retrain. You just
they did print that guy eventually. They printed him way later.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, that was an animation chronicle. So Dark Guardian is real. He's like a good capstone to the deck because he's a towers basically if you summon him with Dark Element. But also, his normal summoning condition is basically, he says you could summon him two ways. You can either summon him with Dark Element, or by shuffling back from your graveyard or banished a Suijin, Sangha, and Kazejin. So he's just a way to fucking recycle your deck.
Yeah.
Like, and he's, no matter what, he's indestructible by battle. He's only unaffected if you do Dark Element. Dark Element also makes you pay half your life points, which is a convenient setup for Guardian Riroku, I think was the retrain of that spell.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, it gave them another weird OTK tool, and, like, if you summon it correctly, he's a fucking towers. What are you going to do about that guy?
Yeah, like...
He's, like, 3,800?
Yeah, he's 3,800 both ways, so it's like... I mean, like, we will say this to no end on this series. Attack points and stat manipulation, it does not matter until it does, and plopping out a 3,800 jackass on the board, your opponent's like... Shit.
And again, minimum, this guy is always indestructible by battle. So if he's just like, if your opponent just like stalls out your plans by like blowing up your back row, you can go, okay, cool, shuffle back 3 guys, Dark Guardian. Like, it's a deck that has teeth, but it could use just a little extra spice. So we'll talk about the Odeon stuff to see how that ranks up. But
yeah, it doesn't help that, like, I mean, well, the current meta is not overwhelming, but the current meta is incredibly strong consistency. Like,
yeah.
we're kind of hitting another evolution of how Yu-Gi-Oh archetypes are designed in recent years.
Each of our current 3 top decks, of which, yes, indeed, there are 3, like undisputed top decks are by volume, we should say, are masters of a fairly consistent and robust line. That's, I think, the other part is not only are they consistent, but also there are multiple points of interaction, so your opponent can't just hit you with 1 Ash and then you go, okay, that's my whole turn done. I cry now.
I want to say Tearlament kind of began this, like, evolution. It was definitely too far on the complex spectrum. And I don't think complexity is bad, but as we talked about a little bit, like a few weeks back with the Pokemon weirdness, whatever that turned into, there is a level of complexity that becomes just too much. And I think Tearlament, while incredibly enjoyed, and I think it is a sick ass deck, and like all of its various like iterations, too much was going on. Just too much was happening in like the issues with Tearlament nonsense.
Well, and I think it made it really easy for both detractors and just the general audience to pick on the deck. It's the kind of thing where, like, there are clips of, like, Tearlament mirrors, right, going to, like, Chainlink 7, where your whole graveyard and banishment are, like, sprawled out on the board because both players are, like, activating Ishizu shufflers and shit in the same chain. Like,
I mean, I looked up Tearlament Chainlink meme and immediately found the image that everyone posts
so, like,
fun at.
it was a rough game to play. I agree with a lot of people that it seems really cool, but also, like, that's the kind of thing that's, like, I can't imagine you want to play that for that much more of a season.
Yeah, I'm putting this in trad games for anyone who has never seen this before. I don't even remember if this is the edited version or not. I think there's an edited version that has even more shit on the board, but...
No, I think this is just the screen cap from what it was. Like this is just like both of them are like looking through their graveyards trying to figure out what the interactions are. Meanwhile, you're looking at boards full of like bestials, links, and other shit. Like it's a whole thing.
It's a pack jump scare too. I'm just realizing.
Yeah, pack. I was about to say that pack's in there. It's just a fun little time.
Yeah.
And like,
look,
the other
Tier Limits, I'm sure, will go down in history as a format analogous to GOAT Edison, where people will go back for Tier Limit mirrors just because the format was so layered and insane.
I mean, speaking about the Pokemon thing, that turned into, because it used to be, all right, money match me Dragon Ruler mirror. We've literally moved on to money match me tier mirror. Like it is become the new definition of our like high skill format, which is neat, especially because like a lot of people were like, man, this just Caesar tier format sucks, man. And then people got to next format, which was what, Cash Scareclaw, Visa Starfrost Soup, like, man.
They realized pretty quickly, I kind of liked Tier, actually. Wait.
Tier, at least we were all, like, that's the thing. The reason why Tier was tough is because everybody was doing everything all the time. When you get to, like I said, like, Kashtira mirrors, it's like, okay, we're all under Macrocosmos, the board zones are locked, what are we doing? Did I open Lightning Storm?
Sure, like, it's unwatchable in paper-play, but a lot of people, like people replaying Tier mirrors now aren't doing it in paper because that's just it's too much brain power for people doing like doing just my words. This drink is already hitting hard, I guess. Shit. Like you're seeing it more in casual like casual fun, or like we saw in Pokéduels, it's money match stuff happening on a sim, like.
And I will say, because of course we can't go a week without card games infighting, there was another, like, Twitter blue sky, card game conversation du jour, which I think that the Magic guy who chimed in, well, I think it was Obi-Wan something, has been part of these bullshit before, but, like, I think it started with Dyer, basically tweeted out a, like, hey, why do card games keep having floodgates? Which I think there were some reasonable opinions, and depending on what card game you're looking at, like, Dyer used an example from the Digimon card game. A lot of people who actually play Digimon came back and said, like, actually, we have much worse floodgates than that. That card you showed sounds bad, but it's like, or sounds bad to play against, but it was, like, not meta after, like, the first couple of weeks. So, like, showing you that there's variance. But, as usual, Magic the Gathering fans seem to take particular umbrage with, like, that. They're like, oh, we call those stacks cards, and they're an important part of the gameplay. And every Yu-Gi-Oh player was like, shit, man, you don't understand. No, man, you don't understand. You don't understand how anti-spell fragrance works.
I remember seeing something about this, like where he's like, oh, like they're not floodgates, they're stacks, and people trying to explain to this guy's like you said, like, no, like, you do not understand that Yu-Gi-Oh floodgates are not like a restriction. They are a they disable a critical mechanism of gameplay for entire.
We call them floodgates because that's how Yu-Gi-Oh is. If you play a floodgate, you stop what everybody's doing.
I'm sure this card exists in some form, but it'd be the equivalent of like a 2-drop white enchantment that says, "Oh, you can't deal burn damage to me." Like, well, you just killed red and black.
I mean, like, honestly, I think, like, and if you want to explain, like, Max C, I think the analogy, as stupid as that sounds, is like, hey, imagine Magic players if somebody had a free card, by the way. It's 0 cost. They can activate it on their turn. And just every time you played any single card, your opponent got, like, +1 colorless mana next turn. Like, they just got extra resources. Now, you may be correct in the gamble that maybe they can't do anything with those resources, but maybe they can, so that incentivizes you to just not play. The problem is that I think just too many Magic players, or at least who are tweeting about stuff, are are thinking about the fact that their game is designed with a slow back and forth because you're supposed to, like, you have, the idea is because you can only play one land per turn, you're supposed to have a ramp. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like, yeah, we have a ramp, it's called Can I Do Anything?
Yeah, no, it's a very fundamental misunderstanding of the fact that, like, I'm sure to an extent, like, everyone who's ever played Yu-Gi-Oh! Knows, oh, the game's in super fast, but, like, the ramp in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is drawing your starter. Yeah. That is the ramp. The ramp in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or the ramp in Magic the Gathering is like 3 or 4 turns back and forth, where you're probably not even casting spells for like the first 2 turns, unless you have a really good hand curve.
Yeah, that I think is like I is probably how I would sell that, is like, no, you don't understand. Well, I'm sure that, like, most high level Magic decks are probably, I mean, obviously you're probably playing a land every turn, otherwise you're sucking it up. But, like, if you play a Yu-Gi-Oh! Turn where you just look at your hand and go, cool, resources I need for later, pass back, you're dead. If your opponent is playing a real deck, you're probably dead if you completely pass turn at this stage of Yu-Gi-Oh! And sometimes you're not. Like, you can actually get to, like, board states where both players are severely behind on card advantage and, like, pass back and forth if you get into the top deck war. But that's because you're, like, out of resources. It's just one of those things. And obviously this guy, like, I can't remember his name because I would still call him out a little. But he was like, after, like, reading responses, like, sounds like this Yu-Gi-Oh! Thing is a bad card game because the interactions are bad. And it's like, all right, buddy. Like Magic the Gathering's never had dog shit cards everybody wants banned. The point of Floodgates is, like...
Hey, Omega, do you mind if I play Scheherazade in my deck?
Yeah, sure. Let's play a sub-game of Magic.
Honestly, I'd say that for when we start actually playing our own unglued nonsense.
Anyway, it's just one of those moments of, like, no, it's not. I mean, you can argue whether or not Floodgates are bad game design. Most Floodgates are not, of the classics anyway, are not allowed in unrestricted format. Most of them are Limit 1 or banned. Like, a lot of them are old and Konami has learned their lesson. Some of them are not that way, but usually they are much more conditional. The worst we have now is shit like Lancia and, Lingering Floodgates. And, like, genuinely, I expect that Dimension Barrier and Lancia may be hit anytime. Like, I don't know when the next list is, but, like, really people have been tired of D-Barrier for years. Honestly, it's because D-Barrier is actually kind of a bad Floodgate. It's because, like, it only works in the game, too, when you know what the fuck you're doing, and then it's the most targeted shit in the universe.
Was D-Barrier pre-Link? Correct?
Yes, D-Barrier is also pre-Link. So if you're playing a Link deck, D-Barrier literally does nothing. It does not include. I think I saw that analogy on Twitter. Like, somebody came up with, like, okay, the Magic the Gathering version of D-Barrier is, like, a 1 cost, because it's a trap card you got to set that just says, hey, name 1 color. Your opponent can't cast any spells of that color. Any creatures they've got or artifacts of that color are negated. Just fuck that 1 color specifically. But then somebody added later, and then they added a new 6th color that this card doesn't interact with at all because it was printed before it. That's Yu-Gi-Oh, baby.
They added a 6th color, like for some reason they they printed the card saying name red, white, black, blue, or green, and then they released purple.
Yeah.
Which I think at some point purple. I think purple was like a fake color, or like a real fake color that was in like their time their time jump set from like 20 years ago or something. The man with the mark.
Yeah. So everybody's here. We've been here for a while. We draw about stuff. Let's talk about Odeon a little.
I like to talk about Odeon first.
Yeah, I figured we'd do a little new cards because the Chaos Dragon stuff will be a little shorter. I don't want to be here forever because I have infinity more monsters to hunt.
This card is almost like something you can take one
I
triangle.
have the text, I can read it out.
Okay, thank God. I was
just
gonna
real quick say because I read all these cards. I read these cards earlier, but yeah, like I will come back in a bit, but I think they're like it makes me think about like a Millennium, where it just feels like a more realized version of the concept.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Before we did, I did want to say, because I did pull up the list. So to let everybody know what's in Maze of the Master, basically, Maze of the Master is all the new Odeon stuff. And then I think it's just all the bits and bobs from the Animation Chronicle and the Duelist Pack Light. They killed Duelist Pack Light. All of it is in Maze of the Master. So that's the new XYZ Dragon stuff, the new Tachyon-specific stuff, and the new Trick Stars. And honestly, that's fair. I talked about this, right? Like, in TCG, Konami kind of, like, picks and chooses Duelist Packs to bring over when they're elemental. And I think that's for the specific reason that, despite the fact that all the cards in it are, like, technically to this day played, the Water Duelist Pack, Duelist of the Abyss, sold like shit, and everybody hated on it when it came out because it was Sharks, Marincess, Umi control. It was like Sea Stealth. All of which, like I said, all those cards are still played in those brews to this day.
Yeah,
but
it was.
People did not like the pack.
It was one of those sets that hit at the worst time. Even though, like I said, even though all the cards to an extent were good and playable, it just hit at the worst time frame where nobody cared about the cards that were coming out in that set.
Yeah. So I think they learned their lesson, and then so with the Earth Pack, which was Amazoness, Morphtronics, Ishizu, they broke that up and just put the new Morphtronics and Amazoness stuff in at low rarities in core sets, which was a great idea, and put the Ishizu into a different, higher rarity product because those cards were good. Duelists of Fire did land, but that's because I think it was super anticipated. That was the new support for Salad, Boxer, Volcanics, all of which were highly anticipated.
Fire Pack also just hit well because we really were just amping up
literally in the Year of Fire, yeah.
Yeah.
So the stuff in the Light Pack is good, but is not in any way meta relevant other than if there's a Blue Eyes bridge in the new XYZ Dragon head shit, which also doesn't matter if it is because Blue Eyes players are already playing other shit. I guess if you don't want to buy Primite cards, you can probably for the cheap run the XYZ shit. But as much as I like having played them in the festival on Master Duel, all the new Trickstar stuff is real good. But Trickstars are not going to suddenly become relevant. Same with Tachyon. The Galaxy Eyes will continue to kick your ass randomly at locals and no further. That's it. That's all you're going to get out of it. But other than that, it's got all the new Perform Mages that were in Animation Chronicle. Water Dancer, Fire Dancer, Wind Drainer, Cup Tricker, etc. Got the new Allure Queen stuff, like Golden Allure Queen and that thing. Also reprinting Allure Queens level 3 through 7 for the first time in a while. We got a couple of Gladiator Beast reprints, but I don't think they're the new ones. Here, I'll post you guys the set list. But they got a couple of, Actually, no, they might have some of the new ones. They're reprinting Tamer Editor after a million years, which I think was something that I saw some people talk about was, it's been forever. There's some Sword Soul reprints that don't really need to be in here. One thing that is an interesting catch is they are reprinting Melcharmy Perulia already. Not Fuelos yet, but Perulia, so keep your eyes peeled for other in-demand reprints.
Yay, Silent Magician level 8.
Yeah, with the alt art. Oh, actually, are they doing the new... Oh, they might be doing the Sword Soul stuff because there's the new, I fucking forgot. Tenyi stuff coming out. I don't think it's in this set. But they're working on it. So, yeah. There's, quality reprints in this, but I'm glad they're not trying to make it, a premier core product, so...
Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Primal. 7th Tachyon, what?
Yeah, that's all the new... Like I said, that's all the new Galaxy Eyes Tachyon stuff. Primal is I think it's a free level 8 you can summon to set up. Shit like that.
X Cross Cannon Ultra Rare / Collector's Rare, and the other two are just rare.
Well, guess what? Double X Cannon Head or whatever his fucking final name is he's the starter. I do actually believe, by the way, if you're curious, chat, the new XYZ stuff is that's technically an infinite, the Light Machine shit. Literally those guys loop back and forth forever if your opponent doesn't stop you, so it's very funny. But yeah, so let's actually talk about these. First of all, Man with the Mark. Odeon straight up became a card now.
Hell yeah. I mean, we're always doing that. Kaiba Man. We got the Dark Spellion.
Yeah. They did the Control C thing again for the early days collection. Actually, that should be a brief mention. I still haven't picked that up myself. I'm waiting for a Steam sale, I think.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
honestly,
what I'm gonna be doing.
I'm hoping for all of the actual DS games as a collection.
Yeah, we don't know what that's going to be, but a lot of people seem to be looking forward to the second collection. Though I do warn you, the way video games work is they're not going to make a second collection if nobody buys the first one. But like I said, we can wait for a Steam sale. I think what we just realized is a lot of people didn't forgot that because it was a real pain in the ass to just run Yu-Gi-Oh on a Game Boy Advance cart. A lot of the old games are like weird and bad, and also grindy.
Yeah,
They're
like
portable games.
I will say, as someone who absolutely adores the Dungeon Dice Monsters game, the gameplay in that is just grinding tournaments.
Is it
Like,
wrong
you're not
that I
actually
feel like
It's the same.
you're
as
not actually
Gold.
really progressing any story or anything. You're just like entering a tournament, playing games, and hoping you win more than one. You get some money and you buy some dice and you give another tournament. I mean, it's grindy, but it's mindless Game Boy fun, and that was basically all these Game Boy Yu-Gi-Oh games were in a
honestly,
sense.
I
Like,
hope... Sorry, go.
no, that's kind of like I was at the end of my point.
Go for it next.
I would like something to have like I guess like a modern remake of it, but more just for. I think certain games have cool visions. I just think the tech holds them down.
I mean, yeah, that was a problem of a lot. That's a problem with a lot of the early Yu-Gi-Oh shit. Like, I would adore a Duelist of the Roses, like not even remake, just the game again. Like,
A
that was
remaster with like some modern capabilities.
Duelist of the Roses was just truly an experience of a game. Like it's hard to put in. Yeah, it's hard to put into words how turning Yu-Gi-Oh into like a chess strategy game just kicked so hard.
It's a really cool one. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. But yeah, that the early days collection came out, and like a lot of people are like remembering that because they didn't realize how grindy it was. Because actually, DZ of course had to do a wheel. He played like 7 Trials to Glory, which is like I think the chronologically last game. It is one of the most sophisticated simulators, but he played it for like an hour, and I watched it, and I'm like, yeah, as someone who owns that cartridge, this is exactly what it's like. I don't think I ever got anywhere in that game because all you do is you fucking grind against the same like 5 bozos in town over and over again to make in-game dual point money to buy packs that are bad because you're playing fucking pre-GOAT format. Like, it's a time. I'm still interested in a lot of those games. Like, some of them I never got around to playing, and others I would like to try again. Like, Eternal Duelist Soul is literally just a card game simulator. Like, you just play through like ranks of guys to go further down. Like, I'd love to take a second crack at that, but some other stuff aren't in there. But yeah, so Man with the Mark is a level 4 Earth spellcaster. He's 1k. If this card is normal or special, take a Temple of the Kings or a spell trap that mentions it. You're going to hear that one a lot. From your deck, add it to your hand, or send it to the graveyard. You can use this effect once per turn. While you control Temple of Kings, this card and Apophis monsters you control can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. Temple of the Kings you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. So, yeah, kind of does, all your basic stuff there. On summon, he searches, or bins, whatever you need, and just sets it up so that you can't be destroyed. These images are super tiny, so we'll pull them up. We retrained. Good.
Sorry, but because Vesper mentioned it, Duelist of the Roses, I posted a vid in WebVid. Someone I follow. Can you beat Duelist of the Roses without any monsters?
Oh my god, they fucking do the fucking SP opening.
But yeah.
Anyway, Merciless Scorpion
Back to
of
this.
Circuit. Level 6 Earth Fairy.
He's standing!
Yeah.
Is he summonable?
Also, I don't know I think it's the same stats. 25 2K. Cannot be
So
normal
Cold
summoned or
Circuit,
set.
not shit from doing it.
Yeah. Cannot be normal summoned or set, but must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing one level 10 or higher monster from your hand or your deck while you control Temple of Kings.
Hmm?
Freest summon in the universe. Banish a level 10 from your deck. You can only
From your deck.
Yeah, hand
Oh
or
my
deck.
God.
While you control a Temple of Kings. You can only special summon
Oh,
Merciless
God.
Scorpion once per turn this way. Once per turn during the main phase, add Temple of Kings or one spell that mentions it from your deck to your hand. At the start of the damage step, this card battles an opponent's monster. You can destroy that opponent's monster. If you do, this card gains attack equal to half of the destroyed monster's attack. So it doesn't even matter that he has attack stats. It's just he also can pop at the start of damage step, which is non-targeting.
Well, yeah, why not?
So yes, very solid retrain. Still has the can't be normal summoned or set, but its summoning condition is, like I said, the freest in the universe. Banish a level 10 from your deck. You have to control a Temple of Kings. Guess what? There's going to be some substitutions for that.
I'm just in shock that this is an Earth Fairy.
I mean, it was an Earth Fairy originally. All these guys are Earth
It
for some
was?
reason. Yeah, Circuit's an Earth Fairy.
I did not know that. Then again, I didn't bother to look.
I guess it's because the original term was in the Japanese was angel, so I assume it's meant to be like a divine earth spirit.
Yeah.
It's a spirit of Egyptian land.
So this is Anubis the Last Judge, Earth
Oh,
Fiend.
he's like
He
personified in
looks
Uber.
like a monarch.
He is sitting down.
I dig it. I dig this. I
Loft,
dig
you
this.
say it again. I just heard mostly your laugh. You
Like a
just
monarch.
re-articulate what you just said.
He looks like a monarch.
Oh, okay.
But
And he's
also, I
sitting
do
in a
have a spare. I do like it.
Yeah, so this is a level 10 Earth Fiend. He's got 3k attack, 0 defense. He can't be special summoned. He can't be normal summoned, sorry. He must first be special summoned from your hand or graveyard while you have 3 or more cards in your graveyard with different names that are either Temple of the Kings and or traps. Just traps, period. By placing 2 of them at the bottom of your deck in any order. Again, most
I
free
know-
special summon in the universe.
Okay, so my problem with this card is that Anubis, the Egyptian god of the underworld, should be a divine card. Even if it's not an Egyptian Yu-Gi-Oh card.
I mean, yeah, but like we're so
There
past,
are there are 5
know.
billion gods in Yu-Gi-Oh.
I know. It's
I'm kind of, I will say I'm kind of surprised the wowest of shoulder pads.
Yeah, he's wide.
it's
But-
not even shoulder pad. It just looks like it's architecture.
Well, look, you know what I mean though. Like,
I mean,
like
yeah.
he's got the most wowest of like pauldrons, and yet I don't hate it. I don't know why. It just looks cool.
It's because he's got aura. This
Yeah.
guy also has other effects in addition to his summoning condition, which again, the most free in the universe. Literally, have 3 trap cards in your deck shuffled or in your graveyard, shuffle 2 back. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to add Man with the Mark from your deck to your hand. If a spell trap you control is destroyed by card effects, target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy it. You can only use each effect once per turn. So he's a
That's
level
pretty
10. So you can banish him to summon Circuit from your hand or deck. You can discard him to search Man with the Mark, which is good because that guy is like not necessarily the easiest to search out. And if your opponent tries to get rid of your spell traps, he turns into a punishment.
That's all around pretty solid, especially for like, I'm assuming this deck's like main boss monster, like Circuit's kind of your big beater and clearer, while Anubis kind of feels like your main deck boss.
Well, possibly, yes. Definitely your main deck boss, but they also
Oh,
made
got
this deck
more?
purple.
Ooh,
They added some extra decks. So, we have first the fusion monster, Divine Serpent Apophis. A level 6 Earth Reptile fusion monster. 2,800 attack, 2,600 defense. Materials, 2 monsters that mention Temple of the Kings.
what incredible! It just-
Must either be fusion summoned or special summoned by tributing 2 Apophis monsters. So hey, you flip 2 traps, 2 Apophis traps, and then just tribute them. So he's a contact fusion as well.
And yeah.
Once per turn, you can target up to 3 Apophis traps with different names in your graveyard. Set them. Set
Those
them back.
embodiment Apophis those Apophis you distributed, put them back. Put them back.
You do need to have one more because you tribute 2, but still not that hard to
It's
arrange.
up to 3, not 3.
Oh yes, target up to 3. That's right. So no, you literally just set them back. Once returned, if a trap card is activated except during the damage step, target a card your opponent controls, destroy it. So he's or she, they, it, trap snake.
Apophis has always been more feminine than Yu-Gi-Oh! From memory.
I think so.
It's always been
It's kind of
kind of
hard to tell from this card art. But,
Yeah,
anyway.
it's been like this snake thing, but
Apophis
it's
turns
always
into
felt
another
like a
just
more
advantage and advantage generator for your trap monsters. Like you get to reset a couple of Apophises. You get a pop when you activate a trap card, so it turns all of your Apophises, your traps
Do
into
we have
removal.
multiple Apophis cards?
So there is the original Apophis. They already retrained it as Apophis the Snake Deity. There was like a level 5 version of the trap monster, and I think there's a third one in this.
Embodiment, Apophis the Swamp Deity, and Apophis the Serpent. Okay.
Yeah, so like there are literally 3 different names you can pick from. Oh, that's a big. That image is much bigger than I thought. Anyway, so we've already got pre-embiggened. We also made Fusion Circuit.
First one is just a level 4, 1618. Swamp Deity is 2022. That can also negate the effects of face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of other continuous trap cards you control until the end of this turn.
Yeah, pretty solid.
I don't like. I mean, I don't like it, but I also like what Circuit's
Oh,
doing.
cool.
with
And the
chest mouth.
new Apophis trap just sets another Apophis trap from your deck, except this one.
Yeah, no, we're
So that's how you get the third one.
yeah. No, you're juicing up pretty big. So this is we also have Fusion Circuit, Divine Scorpion Beast of Circuit, a level 6 fairy, Earth Fairy fusion monster. Who, by the way, still level 6, but is 3K 2K. I'm pretty sure this is what Circuit looked like after it ate like 3 monsters. Its materials, by the way, are 1 Circuit monster and 1 monster with 2,500 or less attack. Can you say Super Poly target?
Oh no!
We'll get rid of your opponent's big assholes, but if they've got a 2,500 or less guy, Super Poly them away.
It's mine now.
If this card is special summoned, or at the start of the damage step if it battles an opponent's monster, target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, or in their graveyard, banish it. If you do, this card gains attack equal to half the banished monster's original attack. You can only use this effect
Why
once per
not?
turn. This card can make a second attack each battle phase while a level 10 or higher monster is banished. So it's a double attacker.
I mean,
And
of course,
also is a remover.
Yeah, of course. This is so it's ridiculous. I love it.
Once again, don't know if this is good, but this deck has plays now.
It does a thing. It's just like, again, like it's like a more realized thing, but also it's a thing that you could do. How do I put this?
It doesn't feel like incredible like on the surface, but also like the main thing with a lot of these comes down to how it interacts with the meta, and also just the existence of a lot of other cards, like other cards that can be paired together to properly
Yeah.
Can you like,
this to form.
can you like instant or like ready fusion or a quick fusion that?
No.
Probably can't. It's level 6 though. But
'Cause they're
yeah,
sixes
that's
now.
about it.
But again, you don't. It's got Super Poly, or you can just play a fusion in your hands. There's probably some other engines to put in there. I imagine you play all of the Ishizu Earth Fairies that are not already banned, just for extra guys. So this is Treasures of the Kings. This is the new field spell. First of all, when this card's activated, set an Apophis trap from your deck. Set it from your deck.
That set Serpent, which will then set Swamp Deity, and then when Serpent gets killed, you can add Embodiment.
Yeah.
Just
While
keep
this
going.
card is in the field zone, it's Temple of the Kings, so you don't even have to play the old Temple of the Kings. Once per turn, if you have 2 more set cards on your field or a trap in your graveyard, add a monster that mentions Temple of Kings from your deck to your hand. You only activate 1 Treasures of the Kings per turn. So just
This is
if
crazy.
if you're playing your deck right, playing trap monsters. Keep in mind also, again, there's because of the way this works, there's no reason why you're not playing like Scylla Hat Rabbit in extra. That's the link to that searches a continuous trap that becomes a guy. A lot of people are thinking the new, because they're a pretty small archetype, the new Argo Stars, because that's a a bunch of trap monsters and an Earth Warrior that kind of searches them. So, like, there's definitely room for a lot of trap decks to play this. But you could probably play God Slime in here, you know? Play Metal Reflect. Because God Slime is another one of those guys who's just really annoying to get rid of. Oh, no, actually, yes. Also, talking about other stuff, I forgot to say, I was like, I'm sure they have a fusion option. Yes, they also just literally have a fusion spell. Defense of the Temple, which reads, fusion summon one Earth fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters in your hand or field. If you use a monster... Oh, sorry. So they literally also already have Super Poly. If you use a monster that mentions Temple of the Kings, you can use face-up monsters your opponent controls as well.
Yeah.
Why
So it's not a
not?
quick play, and it's still reactable, but we've literally given you Super Poly. Cool.
Actually, your question. What
yeah.
is it? What are other Earth fusion targets?
God, I don't know. I mean, I think the one that's probably... It wouldn't work perfectly because I think it's a Cyberse and a Link monster, so you can't make Earth Golem at Ignister.
I know there's the Geokraken, like the Earthbound Immortals.
Yeah, and I think those guys had some options to fuse your opponent's materials. I mean, I know, but then you can't do Magellanic. I don't know if there's any good like generic Earth fusions. Is the problem?
Ultimate Great Insect is semi-generic. Doesn't have names, it just needs levels. But I'm kind of glancing through, like we got I mean, I feel like there would be some Gem Knights that would fall into this. Yeah, we got like some...
Because you can't. The main thing is that you can't Super Poly unless you can have a valid use of a Temple of the King's monster. So like anything that needs names plus a generic element doesn't work.
Dark Gaia needs a Fiend, and I'm sure there are some cards in Temple of the Kings that fall into Fiends. Yeah.
Yeah, Anubis is a Fiend.
Oh no, never mind. Like, I forget the Dark Heroes are like, no, it has to be Dark Fusion because it's shit.
Yeah. I mean, you could get around that with some other ways, but yeah, you're not playing Dark Gaia as a tech card. But yeah. But also, you can banish this card from your graveyard, add Dangers of the Divine from your deck to your hand. You can only use in defense of the Temple. Sorry, you're going to use this effect of defense of the Temple once per turn. You can use the fusion effect as many times as you can draw this normal spell. And you may ask yourself, chat, what is Dangers of the Divine? Well, it's that's time Ra fucking killed Odeon. It's a quick play
Amazing.
spell.
Have no badges to summon me.
I'm basically putting it into a card because it's literally just meant to be. You have to play Raw in the deck as a removal, as basically as a total removal piece because it sends everything.
Or you could include level 10 Raws because I think those are level 10 to send with Mammoth the Mark. Anyway, Dangers of the Divine is a quick play spell card that says pay off your LP, tribute one monster, special summon Winged Dragon of Ra from your hand, or banishment. So you're supposed to play Ra as a one-off to banish as a level 10 to set up circuit. Ignoring its summoning conditions, make its attack and defense 4K, but it can't attack, and during the end phase of the next turn, return it to your hand.
Okay, so you have a body on the board to at least block attacking.
Yeah. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, choose one Winged Dragon of Ra in your monster zone. Send all other monsters in the field to the graveyard. You can use each effect once per turn. So I assume there's a way to set this up where you summon it and then can activate its effect to send right away. But because it's leaving the field.
Yeah, like, it sounds like it should be right.
But also, like, there's follow-up for if your opponent clears it off your back row. So it basically turns Ra into an emergency button. Wipe all monsters on the field, have a 4K body for a turn. Not great, but lets you, like I said, play a one-off Ra to banish it. You know, gives you some room to actually play Ra, even though again doesn't really fit into the deck. Next we have the counter trap because of course we do. In this case, showing Anubis scaring the shit out of Joey's monsters. R.I.P. Swordsman of Landstar. Verdict of Anubis, the counter trap, says when your opponent activates a spell trap card where you control 3 or more other spell traps, negate Destroy. If you control Temple of Kings, destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible. Inflict damage equal to half the total attack of those destroyed monsters. Only
Is
activate one
that,
verdict.
yeah, that's Swordsman of Landstar, Gearfried, and fucking Panther Warrior.
Yeah, it's Joey's monsters because it's referencing the Odeon
Yeah,
and
the duel.
The Odeon and Joey duel.
Yeah, so you also have an archetypal counter trap. It only works on spell traps, so it's not an Omni Negate, but it does punish the shit out of your opponent for stumbling into it. And basically the way this reads is like this is your in archetype.
It's the manga effect of Judgment of Anubis. I thought it sounded familiar.
And so they nerfed Judgment of Anubis for the card game because it was pretty cool in the manga.
Yeah, activate when an opponent uses a spell card, negate its effect, destroy all monsters on the field. Place a damage equal to half the attack of all the destroyed monsters.
Yeah, so they can print that now because it's not that good. And they did make it include spells and traps. Basically, the way I read this is technically this is searchable because this is a spell trap that mentions Temple of the Kings. So you can't search it out. But the primary thing this does is just because you're playing a lot of back row, I think what this does universally is if your opponent activates Lightning Storm or Feather Duster, or if they're playing one of the formats where you can play Heavy Storm, which honestly, Heavy Storm to 1 could happen in the TCG soon. I don't fucking know. You just go, no. But also, God forbid, they actually summon monsters and stumble into this. You get to really punish them. And then our last card out of the Odeon block, we mentioned before roughly what it does, but we've got Apophis the Serpent. It's the Apophis Retrain, the third one. This is a continuous trap card. It says special summon this card as a normal monster. This card is still a trap. It's level 4, 16, 18. So, by the way, that does mean that not ideal, but you do get normal monster support because it literally counts as a normal when summoned. Not every trap card does.
This is just the way this card reads is crazy, like I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
Like when it's activated, set an Apophis,
which can be activated
this turn. So this just
The other Apophis.
gets you to. This just gets you to the Apophis fusion, and then when it's into the graveyard, you add embodiment, set it, then you reset these two Apophis traps you just summoned off. You can send off 4 Apophis fusion.
Or
you can set up 3 spell traps, if not 4.
Yeah, and so you're all set up. Or if you don't need them, like if you've got other shit in your hand, you can shuffle 2 of them back to summon the new Anubis, and then he's a big bungler on the board. Like, it's... I'm looking at it. This is the start of a deck. I don't think it's quite as realized as, say, like, Gate Guardian or Flame Swordsman, because, like, Divine Scorpion Beast is a pretty good boss, but it's not necessarily an instant game ender. It does a pretty good job of ending the game because you're probably gaining a lot of attack with its Banish, and it gets to attack twice. But there's still a little bit of wiggle room here, but, like, combine this with a competent trap monster engine so that just you're filling your back row with traps constantly, and then summoning them out to make materials. Yeah, it's pretty good. Like, you know, Apophis is a contact fusion. Fucking Divine Circuit is, like, either a super poly target or the easiest fusion in the world. Just have a Circuit monster.
Yeah.
Mammoth Mark is a spellcaster, so I'm sure you can set up some dumb thing with, like, Magician Souls.
Is there anyone who sees this and thinks he would fit right in Volcano Manor in Elden Ring?
Oh, no, I think a lot of people would think that. They are, I mean, man scorpions have been in Yu-Gi-Oh! Forever. Or not man scorpions, man serpents.
Serpent!
Serpent men. They're everywhere. So yeah,
That's the other way around.
it's a fun deck. Again, if some people are saying that, like, I don't think it's as good out the gate as, like, what Flame Swordsman and whatchamacallits
Millennium?
No, Millennium doesn't count for that.
Okay.
That was the OCG made that in a core set.
The Isuzu card?
Nope, I'm Gate Guardian, the other maze sets.
Okay, Guardian, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, both of those were a little more fully fleshed out. But these, first of all, give you a reason to play the old school, like. Well, first of all, you probably play the classic embodiment of Apophis as like a Garnet. You know.
Well, you're playing it either way because the Apophis searches it.
Yeah. So like you can play it as you know, the kind of the Garnet. Let's see.
It's interesting in that this deck makes like your shitty like Garnet from ages past just a card that you can just reset easily and don't have to like sure you might redraw it, but you have so many ways to keep searching it or shuffling it back.
Yeah.
That it doesn't actually feel like it's as huge a penalty playing it.
Yeah, and you could probably play the circuit. The funny thing is, you do actually, I think, play Temple of the Kings in this deck. The old school Temple of the Kings, for those who don't know, which is actually a newer card because they didn't print it and circuit until Structure Deck Merrick in 2010.
It's the extra burn damage or something. You get 300.
No. First of all, you can activate one trap card the turn it was set. It's a continuous spell that just says that.
What am I thinking?
You can send one Mystical Beast of Circuit in your monster zone, and this card you control the graveyard to special summon one monster from your hand or deck, or a fusion monster from your extra deck. You can only use each effect once per turn.
Oh, so that's why we kind of leaned into fusions. I forgot about that part of that effect.
Yeah.
Monster.
So Temple of Kings, like, just like gives you a pseudo reason to get out there. Maybe play the vanilla circuit as a one of, so you can set up the free extension. But otherwise, just as a card you can search that lets you activate one trap card the turn it was set, so you can like activate new Apophis and just get your combo started on turn one. Not terrible. Like, it probably makes the cut in the deck, but you don't have to. You know, there's potential here, but also
I can see some cool shit coming out of this. I can definitely see some cool shit coming out of this though. Like
yeah.
This feel I do like that we're still experimenting on trying to make these trap decks work because we saw something successfully with Labyrinth a handful of years back.
Yeah.
And it feels like with that design strategy.
And Labyrinth's still in the general consciousness.
Well, you know what I mean, though.
I mean, yeah, Labyrinth has been making top cuts for a while, but that Labyrinth definitely, I think, was like I've talked about this before, but to recap, you know, you never know when someone's tuning in for new. Konami really seems like they are taking a crack at attacking a lot of preconceptions that people have about Yu-Gi-Oh. Before Labyrinth, everybody was like, "Oh, normal traps, trap cards, magenta cards, useless. Never play them." And so, like, Labyrinth really opened up what you can do with a deck focused on normal traps and, you know, stuff like that by extending, like, all of your forms of removal and stuff and just increasing your synergy. I would argue that, like, Tenpai was another case where, like, people were like, oh, the battle phase doesn't matter. OTK decks are gimmicks, you know. If you're going to battle phase, you know you've already won. Well, guess what? Tenpai was all about that shit and was real good.
Yeah,
half their shit only works in battle phase.
I do feel that Konami, Konami's dev dev team for Yu-Gi-Oh has really figured out how like they experimented and kept failing, but obviously eventually they're gonna eventually you would hope they find a way to kind of reinvent the wheel, and they've done it well with battle phase, trap cards. I mean, even other summoning mechanics at this point.
It turns out
Pendulum's kind of the only one left.
It turns out you can make wheels that are rectangles if you just smooth the edges.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this, like, on its own, this isn't a revolution, but if you put this with the other stuff they've been doing for, like we said, trap monsters for the past couple of years, like I said, Silhouette Rabbit is a Link 2 that just sets a trap card that summons itself from your deck. They're reprinting, like, Azurune, right? And all those shit, Azurune, Tiki, Curses, and Soul, Anguish Pattern, right? Like, those are all cards that are, like, pretty powerful in limited contexts. Argo Stars is another case where people were looking at it and is like, okay, cool, this is like a 4 or 5 card engine that summons trap monsters. I don't know what deck that goes in. And it probably goes in this deck. They're all Earth, I think, so, like, there's room for like building a better deck out here. I like I said, I do think this kind of lacks the same kind of like feature complete feeling that like Gate Guardian and Flame Swordsman kind of felt like, where like, yeah, Gate Guardian and Flame Swordsman are still missing some stuff, but you look at their lineup and are like, ah, no, I understand how to build the deck. This, I'm definitely like, yeah, I'm not sure what the ratios are. Like, getting Man with the Mark is pretty important, so do I play like 3 Anubis, 3 Mark? You know, there's room there.
I definitely, I can feel there's some spice going on here. Like,
yeah,
there's something going on that I think can be used. It'll just, I mean, the forever problem with Yu-Gi-Oh archetypes really just comes down to interest, because you've seen it. I mean, we've seen it happen many formats before, where there have been decks that were far and away, obviously, like they in retrospect became the best deck in the format, but no one knew that at the time because they just didn't have the ability or like capability or interest of labbing so and so deck.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot to be said for like there are probably some decks out there that remain uncracked just because nobody feels passionate about them yet. And obviously there are the inverse, chat. We know there are decks that like no matter how many tries people try to crack have not been good yet.
Look, as much as I hate to say it, because I do think what's in the archetype is cool, that's Galaxy. Like,
Galaxy at its current state has been pushed about as far as you could go, in that there's about 90 different ways you can arrange 40 cards in main, 15 in extra, to make a Galaxy deck that fairly competently makes a big fucking guy and kills your opponent like 5 times over.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last. I think we talked about this last week with Hero, like Galaxy and Hero like Galaxy and Hero, even like just Water deck to an extent, have all fallen into the same like conundrum.
The thing about Water, funnily enough, is that they printed like three new cards for Mermail Atlantean version, and they're like, suddenly we're back. We're playing all the same old shit, but we got 3 new good shits.
Yeah, we're so back. All we needed was like one more card. Truly.
Yeah. And that's really always like, because you'll hear people talk about it, right? There will be talks about this deck just needs that one more card. But yeah, the Odeon stuff is like not going to be like an Ishizu like meta changer, but there's room in there for out there. All right, before we transition to
it looks cool.
Chouse, I'm going to take a bio break. I will leave the fine members of the Fail Portrayal and chat with an image of Chaos Emperor Dragon. We'll come back and talk about kind of chaos as a concept.
I'm curious to learn there's other dragon signs Levianeer.
There are some really. I mean, like you.
I guess Brotar.
You know a Collapse Serpent and the other one, right? The light and dark. I can't remember the other one now. It was a Collapse Serpent and something.
I'll probably recognize it when I see it.
Let me just. Wyver Burster and Collapse Serpent are like the other big Chaos Dragons of like. They're basically there were many CEDs where the dark one needs to banish a light and the light one needs to banish a dark, and both have strong effects to like recur when they're banished. So they play nice with each other as like a mini chaos combo package. Oh. I really feel like I'm just living through life and shit just keeps happening to me as of late. I don't know what's been going on.
I don't know what to tell you there, unfortunately.
No, it's fine. I did not, but I was at the hospital for about 8 hours yesterday.
Oh. I was at the
My
hospital for 6.5 hours
I guess
yesterday.
not defensive. Like they still hear us, but yeah.
we should they should be hearing us. Like
Yeah.
we're
Alright.
still
Also, I'm back.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I had it uploaded. I said I was leaving chat. I'm back though.
My thing leads into a joke. What's up with you, Despair?
My baby nephew needed open heart surgery. That was fun. You know,
Sounds
he's good.
sounds
We're past
dreadful.
it.
That's good.
Oh my, yeah. Like, but
That's rough.
I've feeling about 2 weeks of stress just escape your body in the instant you hear a doctor go, we're good, like we're past it. You could feel the entire room like just
Let out of breath.
like not even let out of breath. Like you can just feel the energy in the room just collapse from just just super tense to okay, like we can fall asleep essentially.
Yeah.
Because we've been up there since like 6 a.m.
As a joke, I was at the hospital for 6.5 hours yesterday because I was cleaning toilets.
Yeah, you were working.
Yay.
So chaos, everybody.
Well, yeah. Look, he's good. That's what matters. We're in the recovery.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
jokes aside, hope things go well.
Yeah.
That's it. Good. That's over. And now we will transition to from that to chaos.
From one chaos to another.
So
Now, are we said this while you were gone? Is this Chaos Structure deck at the point of Collapse Servant and Wyvern Buster, or are they like later? I'm not sure what timeline are we on?
The original Dragons Collide structure deck is 2012.
I think that is right around that time.
Yeah, they are like early 2013. Like they weren't in the structure deck, but they were clearly close enough that like obviously it was on Konami's mind, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. And when we talk about Chaos Dragon, it is an outdated deck, but it was a real deck that was actually pretty good around the time the structure deck and shortly after it came out. Up until I want to say like when, obviously, Eclipse Wyvern did get banned, and it should stay that way because it's a very scary card. But
yeah, there's
and,
just so many.
Also, Red Eye's DMD pre-errata was banned in Limit 1 for a while. Actually, I don't remember if it was banned, but it was definitely Limit 1 for a lot of years.
I mean, on the topic of them, I'm pretty sure Collapse Serpent and Wyvern Buster are limited to this day, just because they are.
In most formats, there's some kind of limited.
Yeah.
I can't remember how, like, the OCG did a weird thing, but I think they're both, like, 1-1 in the TCG right now. So, like, they have... This is a deck that's, like, really, really powerful, like, tight resource loops, and eventually, basically, became, like this strategy of that sort of, like, banishing to summon large dragons, eventually just straight up became Dragon Link. Like, you could argue that Chaos Dragon is still around. It's just that they embraced the extra and became Dragon Link and, like, have bestials and stuff now. Obviously, it's not the exact same, but it's a very similar structure. So, to kind of explain this, first we should talk about something that most of you probably know a little bit about, but it is a classic of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. So, Chaos is, like, a thing. It's not really clearly defined in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga or anime, but they do actually, like, kind of talk about this. If you don't know, Blackluster Soldier's original name in the OCG is Chaos Soldier. And there's, Magician of Black Chaos is the ritual version of Dark Magician. So, like,
yeah, no, like
there was a through line of that.
Like, Chaos has always just been a kind of like extra typing of sorts among monsters, where it's the reason why Dark and Light are like are like the most powerfully supported, like, just generic attributes, or
Yeah.
I mean attributes, not typing.
Yes,
I mean like Chaos, where
but
it falls into
Chaos,
a combo of like
becomes a kind of like, yes, where while they are themselves light or dark, they create this weird overlap.
And we eventually get to the point where some cards count as both attributes on the field, just to keep playing with that flavor, because we hadn't decided what we want to do with, like, dual attributes super early on in the card game. They just didn't bother. They just
And
didn't play with it.
obviously, these are very important because they are, like, if people don't know, Chaos Monsters are why the forbidden part of the Forbidden and Limited list exists. The original version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Did not have a ban list. They just had limit and semi-limit. But
Good old Zed and Yadagaras.
yes,
Yeah,
the
the
power of
Yada-
Chaos decks and the Yada Lock were so strong that we actually had to limit them.
Yeah, like it was kind of a running joke that Yada was on the ban list purely by legacy, and it came to a point where like it really was like.
I mean, he wasn't unbanned until like what 2021, 22. Like,
Yeah,
it was like
it was unbanned fairly recently, and him coming back was like, yeah, I
recent
mean, it's fine. Like it doesn't really like he's annoying as shit, but like being locked out of drawing a card just doesn't mean nearly as nowhere near as
they
important
also
as it was.
they eroded every other monster that let the Yada Lock work. Both Witch and Sangan are
Yeah.
eroded, so you can't like activate the searched monster's effects that turn. Sed is eroded, so it's not like a huge burn blowout as well. Like but they kept him on there way after those hits because he was like one of the OG banned boys. But yeah, so the fundamental way Chaos works is the original like big 3 Chaos monsters, one of which is on screen right now, required you to banish a light and a dark from your graveyard and then summon them. They can't be normaled. And then each of them in their own way had pretty powerful effects. The original Sed is Chaos Emperor Dragon Envoy of the End is like, I mean, really iconic. Like, he's a little goofy. Like, why does he have long flowing locks? I still don't know to this day.
It's iconic is the
I
thing.
think it's because it's
Yeah.
meant to like reminiscent of like the Chaos Soldier or Blackluster Soldier.
Yeah, I think that's what we are going for. But he's still a dragon. But, like, he's out here. He's very shiny. We've got this cool kind of, like, eclipse or dark light ring behind him. Looking very good. And then, other than that, he's just a classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Dragon. He doesn't even have any Konami orbs.
Huh.
He's just looking good.
Yeah, and if you don't know this guy's effect,
Yeah, let me grab the original pre-errata version. Okay.
yeah, like
Yeah, I got it.
the prevalence of Sed and and Chaos BLS, which we'll get to in a second, I'm sure.
Yeah,
both
technically
those
he's
cards
like alphabetically
were,
first, but I figured that Sed has to be
Yeah.
first.
Like these two cards are generationally defining for Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, so the
To the-
original
to the
text
point-
of Chaos Emperor Dragon, go ahead.
Well, I'll talk about BLS when we get to him.
BLS, both these guys spent a long time on the ban list. BLS managed to come away unscathed eventually, just the state of the game became such that his 2 effects are no longer so backbreaking.
Yeah.
Sed had to be errated. I do not think you could revert the errata even to this day because he has such a possible like blowout effect. The original text
See-
of Sed,
He's two
Says-
game warping.
yeah, the original text of Sed says this card can only special summon by removing 1 light, 1 dark monster in your graveyard. Pay 1,000 life points to send all cards in both players' hands and on the field to the graveyard. Inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent's life points for each card that is sent to the graveyard by this effect. So, Sed is a mostly free special summon. The whole point of this deck is to bin as many light and dark monsters as possible to summon him. By the way, he is a level 8. Yeah, a level 8 dark dragon with 3k25. So he's got Blue Eyes White Dragon stats. And you only have to pay 1,000 measly life points to dome your opponent for 3,000 points. This is not specified of like a like once per turn or anything. Obviously, it won't do the burn damage, but there's no restrictions on that send effect. So you could summon this guy, dome your opponent for 3k, or however many monsters you have on board. Then in main phase 2, go, okay, send. It's a double hand rip, so your opponent is set down to 2 top deck mode. And obviously, the way the Yada Lock work was, one of those cards you would send to the graveyard would be either Witch or Sangan, and then you would add Yatagarasu as your last card, and ideally, you would normal summon Yata, go to battle phase, pitch him in, because Sed does send himself. It says, all cards in hand and field, so he does go himself, so he's doing minimum 300.
It just ended the game.
Yeah, it's just like, like I said, it's a board wipe and a hand rip, and you would usually do it in such a way so that you would have huge advantage over your opponent. And if you were playing Chaos and your opponent wasn't playing Chaos, guess what? You've just put another Dark guy and probably some more Dark and Light guys in your graveyard. So your top decks are probably better than your opponent's top decks because it could result in another Sed or another one of any of the monsters we're going to talk about.
It's the same situation as any degenerate floodgate that has been banned, like instantly, where the problem isn't that it's a floodgate. The problem is that you can perform the effect at the most advantageous timing for you and disadvantageous for your opponent.
So
this is why floodgates are so powerful in Yu-Gi-Oh!
So the final version of his text now is: can't be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand by banishing a light and a dark from your graveyard once per turn. So they added a soft once. Pay 1,000, send as many cards from both players' hand and on the field as possible to the graveyard. Then inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each card sent to the opponent's graveyard by this effect. You cannot activate other cards or effects the turn you activate this card's effect. So they finally came up with a condition that worked based on his appearances in the anime, because I believe Sed did show up in the anime a couple of times, anime only. But still stopped it from being as much of a nuke as possible, because as we said, not only did they errata Sangan and Witch to make it so that you couldn't be Yata locking your opponent anyway. Also, when you activate Sed, your turn's basically over. That said, Sed's still like a pretty scary body. They still made him pretty big and tough. I think just in general, the fact that he is a turn ender is why you just don't play him anymore, because you've got way better summons. But he is still a pretty big guy and like fundamentally like iconic to the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, people understand kind of like what he's about. And he's still a fucking 3K asshole.
Yeah, it's the kind of card that just remains in the sphere of just mindset. Like when people were playing like circa like 2010 even, like Sed was still seen as the boogeyman of Yu-Gi-Oh! And as we'll get to BLS in a moment, BLS was played honestly far too late in the actual like meta of Yu-Gi-Oh! Just because he was that iconic a card that people just played it if they were playing Dark and Lights. They had the ones not to play BLS, so they said that's funny. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, no. And I believe we've talked about it before because we've done a whole Blackluster Soldier episode, but obviously this guy is not really part of the Chaos Soldier archetype anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the card art is just he's a Blackluster Soldier retrain. He is a light level 8 with the same stats. He's a warrior. Can't be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by banishing a light and a dark. And then he has a soft once per turn to activate one of these effects. This is, I think, one of the first monsters they did a bullet point on, like this. But target a monster on the field, banish it. This card can't attack the turn it activated. This card destroys an opponent's monster by battle. It can make a second attack in a row. And like, here's the thing. This guy, like Vesper said, just became such a, like, fucking constant, right? Like, if you were running a sufficient mass of light and darks, you could just tech this in because he's just a game ender.
It was a one card slot in your main deck that essentially just was well before hand traps were a thing. Was at the point of time where trap cards were seen as like passe essentially, unless you were playing explicitly a stun deck or like a super specialized type like version of it, like trap BA or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember Prague.
Yeah. Like honestly, this is the guy who should have gone faster and needed to stay gone longer. I think he went up and down our list a couple of times because we were like, this guy can come back. Wait, no, he can't. He's effectively a free special summon if you're in your combo, and he can 3K attack twice or just banish, non-destruction removal. Yeah, I'm looking at his limitation history. So this guy did get limited pretty fast because of the way the ban lists work back then, because we were the same list for a while. He went for being limit 1 for about a year until October of 05, which I think was longer than said. But first of all, he stayed banned until 2011. Like from 05 until 11, he was banned. And then he was only put back to 1. He stayed limit 1 from 2011 until 2017.
Yeah.
Because, rightly so, I think, the idea that you could play multiple copies of this guy was not okay for a long time.
Yeah, so it was just a thing of... Well, like... Oh, sorry, Loth.
No, go on.
Yeah, like, it was just... once it came back, it kind of just stayed in people's decks by legacy up until, like, I want to say... Let me just double-check the timing of some sets, because when I was playing, like I got super into competitive right around Pendulum era. So yeah, like even like 2015, 2016, he was still being played.
Mm-hmm.
Like to put that into concept.
Well, like I said, he didn't get put to semi limit until 2017, right? Like it was not until the Link era that this guy was well and truly passe.
Yeah. It was around 2017 where they were like, "Yeah, fuck it, no one's playing him anymore," and he's not. I will not
just get the card on its own, but I will very briefly, just as a mention, jump scare everybody who's ever watched Table 500 or a Sub Replay Friday. There is technically a like archetype linked card to both SED or BLS called Primal Seed. It just says if there's a BLS or K or SED on the field, target 2 of your banished cards, add them back. This is part of a lot of dumb YouTube combo loops, where you force out a SED or you force out a BLS, usually BLS, and just
not Primal Seed,
loop shit over and over again. It's not a good card, but it's a card that is not a once per turn, so that if you do the loop correctly, you can just add back a Primal Seed, add back another thing forever. And also another guy who also deserved his punishment, not as strong as the other two, but there was a third Chaos Monster in this time who is arguably just as iconic. It's him, everybody. The man, the myth, the legend, the Chaos Sork himself. Everybody's got one of these. And this guy is like the boogeyman of GOAT format, right? This is the dark demon that haunts your doorstep forever. God, look at him. Look at his blue lips.
Hey guys, everybody has this card, right?
Everyone, if someone doesn't have it, please mention it. Vesper, please do not mention it for 2 months.
It took a while, okay? But yeah, the reason why that was a joke is because
I think it's people talked about multiple times, and no one brought it up.
Yeah, I think it went back and forth for a while. I don't know if it was 2 months, but it was probably a couple of weeks. The reason why we make that joke is because if you haven't watched our original abortive progression tournament series, this guy was a fucking common in Invasion of Chaos.
Everyone had like 9+ copies, except Vesper had like 2.
No.
1 or none.
I had 0.
Which is phenomenal. Crazy bad luck.
Okay, yeah, no. You know what? I'm gonna pull up my luck I'm gonna pull up a luck anecdote while you read out this card.
Yeah, so
the point is you never brought it up.
Yeah, Axon, you keep saying that. It's been like 5 fucking years.
I mean, if Vesper brings up the joke,
but yeah, so your response is to anti the joke? The story that Vesper didn't mention it isn't funny. Everybody has one of these is kind of funny because we did all have one except Vesper somehow, and we learned it later.
Hey, so to put into perspective my ability to be a statistical anomaly.
Yeah.
Where the fuck did it go? I was playing some good old Olympus Company. I'm not gonna go into it. I had a 95% chance to flip a coin and land on heads for 5 coins. I hit tails on 5 coins. With a 5% chance to hit tails, I hit tails 5 times in a row.
Knowing you, and like other shit that's happened to you, that doesn't seem improbable for you.
I found the math.
You are someone that's not rolled higher than a 3 for like 20 rolls in a row for.
Yeah, I didn't roll higher than the 3. I rolled like 6 threes in a row. Anyways.
I mean that too.
Yes, and Vesperius provided for failed portrayal. Probability of losing 5 times in a row is 0.0003125%. That's very small, chat.
That's winning the lottery
small.
levels of impossibility. I would like we're nearing insanity odds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the Chaos Sorcerer, Chaos Sork as he's usually called, I could kind of see him being a reference to Dark Magician, but also I think he's kind of doing his own thing. He's got a standard Yu-Gi-Oh! Wizard hat, and he just looks like a weird little guy. Like, I guess he's kind of got Black Magician of Chaos's like bondage type gear, but you got to remember, there was already not just Magician of Black Chaos. There was already Demok, who we won't be talking about because he's a Dark Magician type guy. But there was the Chaos retrain, the just effect retrain of Black Chaos already. Chaos Sork is just a guy. He sure looks like a Yu-Gi-Oh guy. Like I said, he's got a weird hat that hides his eyes. He's literally wearing bondage straps. But he's got full sets of weird pants on with Yu-Gi-Oh lines. Like,
yeah, I mean, like it's hard to put into words, but this guy is just Yu-Gi-Oh.
He just is Yu-Gi-Oh.
I will say one thing that I have never noticed until just now.
Yeah.
It always looked like this guy was floating from the card art.
Yeah, I've always thought
noticed.
He was just in lotus position. No, he's standing.
Yeah.
It's because you're not expecting the fucking updraft on his
yeah,
costume.
like you see the updraft, so it's like your brain just fills in on the small card art. No, he's like almost meditating, kind of like cross-legged, not bow-legged.
And I think there are other Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are doing that, but he is not. He's standing up. So this is a Dark Spellcaster level 6. He's 2300 attack, 2k defense. Not anything to write home about. But the main thing is that he still has that special summon condition. He can't be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by banishing a light in the dark. And then, once per turn, target a phase-up monster in the field, banish it. It can't attack the turn you activate this effect. So this guy is just one half of BLS, and arguably the more useful half. Like, obviously, the double attacking was a big game closer, but non-destruction removal back in the day was also really, really important. And that's only a soft once, guys. So, if you could afford to summon extra Chaos Sorks, that was a lot of removal. And even if it's not, just again, arguably free special summon, because you're putting a lot of lights and darks in your graveyard anyway for this strategy to work, of a guy who's 2300 attack. Not terrible. Remember, this is like 04. Most normal summon monsters are, at best, like, your opponent might have a Gemini elf who's 19, right?
Yeah.
So this guy was spicy, and like I said, he is a plague of the classic GOAT format for a reason. Because let me see if the... Okay, no. He did see the Forbidden List for a little bit. But this is a case where, like, Konami clearly didn't realize how much of an annoyance this guy was, because he goes straight from 3 to 0. Like, just we hit 2006, and somebody says, I'm tired of looking at this guy. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After which, this guy bounced up and down the list for a long time. Like, he goes back to 1 in 09. They put him back up to 2, like, a few months later, and then they're like, well, nope, 2's too many. Put him back. And he actually I don't know what period it was, but it would have been, I think, right before the Dragon Structure deck hit. He went back to 3 in like 2011 and stayed that way until 2012 when the Structure deck did come out, and he went back to 1. He's been unlimited since 2015 in the TCG, but still, like, this guy literally bounced up and down the list for like 10 years. No, I believe both of them are... Oh, no, yeah. Sork is only face-up monsters. BLS is any monster on the field. So BLS is a little better. But again, like, the just removal is just such a pain in the ass. And that's the other thing, right, about playing GOAT format when this guy was hot. If they're face down, don't banish them. Just attack them. You'll get over them. Like, any card that's been set face down will be beaten by 23. Obviously, that means you got to watch out for, like, your opponents playing, like, Vindictive Magician or Magical Merchant, but you can still get over. And like I said, these 3 guys fundamentally established what Chaos was, and were so good that kind of burned into everybody's brain, like, what Chaos was. So much so that, like I've said before, Chaos has stuck around way past its prime in a lot of areas.
You know, like we've seen a lot of Chaos just, I mean, it's a thing with a lot of archetype or like typings and stuff like this, like where even like Dragon Link to an extent, it's still good. It's still like fine, a good.
Well,
like,
and we'll be talking about that today, but they really did like a couple years ago try and bring back Chaos like as a proper synchro archetype. One of those cards is really good and has seen play to this day. It's called Chaos Angel. If you've never been jump scared by him in Master Duel.
Chaos Ruler as well, right?
Yeah, Chaos Ruler was kind of their first crack at that. That guy was too good, and we will talk about him because, like I said, that guy kind of like became the other 8 you summoned in Dragon Link, other than the Borreload synchro. Like he still feels the effects of the classic Dragon Chaos, but Konami saw that guy and was like, "Oh, that was so good. What if we just make Chaos synchro an archetype?" And they did, and like those cards are decently playable. And the problem is that there's not, like, to this day, there's still not a really great Chaos main deck engine. Chaos Dragon back in the day was kind of built on the back of just dark good stuff and specifically Lightsworns. Because one of the cards you would play that made it Chaos Dragons was you would also play, like, strong individually light and dark dragons like Dad, like Judgment Dragon, shit like that. So, like, there's still room for that stuff in there. Sorry, my phone buzzed very loudly. I wasn't expecting it. And so, I want to say there's one more guy, I think, who is part of this Chaos Soup, who is a dragon, who's kind of literally gets a Chaos retrain later, so I want to talk about it briefly. So you guys may remember this from Prague as well. Mirage Dragon.
Yeah. I think they remember this guy.
So, to talk about Mirage Dragon's art when he comes on, pretty sick, pretty cool looking Yu-Gi-Oh! Dragon. Because you can see in something you'd never see in small detail, but can see close up. He's literally a mirage. Like, parts of him are translucent when his full card art goes through.
Ooh.
So he's got, like, a weird thing in his skull. He's got, like, parts of his body are see-through. Also got a really interesting, like, asymmetry thing with, like, shoulder and hip guards. But he's a little snaky guy. He's got a weird scythe tail. He's also got really long hair for some reason. Like, this is just cool. This is just a cool Yu-Gi-Oh! Dragon.
Yeah, kind of is, yeah.
Mirage Dragon was a light level 4 dragon with 1600 attack and 600 defense. And his text reads, your opponent can't activate trap cards during the battle phase. That's all he did. All he did was turn off battle traps. But it was a light and a dragon. was printed in Rise of Destiny, and this card was so popular. This card's been in like 3 starter decks. Like, and while it wasn't reprinted for Dragons Collide, was in the new print of the original Blue Eyes structure deck. This card's in Battle Pack 2. Like, this guy is a Yu-Gi-Oh staple. Yeah, we won't be talking about the Metaphys version because that's a separate thing. But yeah,
like I said, another just really solid card we saw just like occupy deck space just forever, especially in our Prog series.
Yes. Well, like I said, he counteracted Battle Tricks, which was like a thing that we couldn't, and I think with good reason, we really couldn't decide with our ban list how to feel about Battle Tricks, because like, is Sakuretsu Armor was a common? Is 3 Sakuretsu too many? Deep Prison was a card bank card. Everybody's got 3. Like, can we get rid of that? Shit like that. Like, and of course, the classic Mirror Force was such a big blowout because it was an ultra rare back in the day. Magic Cylinder, a secret rare, was also a huge blowout card if used correctly. So it was one of those moments of like, well, if you could just normal summon a Mirage Dragon or special summon him back because he's a fucking dragon and it's the easiest thing in the world. Shout out to the original. We talked about it already when we did the Divine Dragons, but Apocalypse was a let you summon back a guy from grave. That was a Dark Dragon.
Yeah.
So another like classic guy of those decks. Another classic replay dragon jump scare who was also part of this machine is the Prime Material Dragon. It was another card art that, like, is just, like, wild. Having been playing Monhun, this guy looks like a Monster Hunter monster.
He's even got the glowing red orbs for wounds.
Yeah.
He feels like...
He's, like, in a volcano, I think?
He makes me feel like this would be like a fucking Rise Sunbreak.
Oh, yeah, this guy's fucking weird.
Yeah, he's, like...
Oh, sorry, I'm still looking at Mirage Dragon.
No, I'm talking about Prime Material Dragon, right? Like, this...
That too.
This guy is, like... I think he's supposed to be,
this guy
like,
looks like
coated
it's
in
made
lava,
of, like...
but maybe he's in molten metal?
It makes me think it's, like, molten gold that pour out of the ground and shape into a dragon.
Yeah, like, and he's just called Material Dragon in the OCG.
I don't think Monster Hunter would do, like, living metal, but... It could do a weird thing of, like, in a volcano, a constantly melting statue is being manipulated by something inside of it.
I know Axe has not played the new Monhunt, so I will not make any comments about Wilds.
I mean, I know about the spider that puppeteers the giant fucking robot.
Someday you should play Wilds.
I know, I just...
But Prime Material Dragon is a classic. Talking about what material he's made of, I don't know. He's just all the materials, I guess. He is a light level 6 dragon, though, who's 2400 attack, 2k defense, so that's pretty good. And again, why I said this guy is like a YouTube replay like type jump scare. His first effect is any effect that would inflict damage to a player increases their LP instead. So note that doesn't include costs, but does include burn damage. The more important card that made this part of, like, when you were playing Chaos Dragon decks later, people remembered this guy, even though he's, like, a 09? 08, yeah, Phantom Darkness. So, like, a late GX card, technically. His other effect is, when a card or effect is activated that would destroy a monster on the field, quick effect, send a card from your hand to graveyard, negate and destroy. So, he is a destruction protection, and also a weird anti-burn card, and also just another good body. He's got, the same attack as a Monarch for 1 tribute, but way better defense, and is a light dragon. So, like, talking about, like, things that these are good about, like, he's a strong contender. And then, funnily enough, talking about in those late GX early, early 5Ds type era. Because technically, we were, Yeah, there were some Chaos Synchro like guys they tried to make, and so we were into the Dragon's Collide. I think was technically like late Synchro. It was not quite at Xyz yet. But here's another classic of the meta that I just wanted to mention. It's Chaos Hunter.
Oh yeah, Chaos Hunter was a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
That's Robin's
Just
favorite.
because she's like a classic. This is another card that's a Storm of Ragnarok. So like I said, Synchro era was reprinted though in a couple of structure decks. Was in Battle Pack 2 kind of shit. She's a card that like. Wow, sorry, I just realized this card was iconic enough that they put her in Rarity Collection 2. So there's a printing of this card in every rarity, basically. That was super ultra secret, platinum secret, quarter century secret, ultimate collectors. The only
Chaos
thing I think this
Hunter
card
was,
isn't is a ghost rare.
Staple like side deck card for as long as I played.
Yeah, like arguably still does I think make it into some side decks. So Chaos Hunter is a level 7 Dark Fiend, 2500 attack, 1600 defense. And just says, when your opponent special summons a monster except during the damage step, you can discard a card to special summon it from your hand, and your opponent cannot banish cards. She is a Lancia with legs. Really good-looking legs, because look at this. She's hot. She knows it.
She's good. Very, just really, really fucking good art.
Yes. She's got, kind of like pointed nails in gloves, got like a whip. She's wearing
in
like
a Castlevania game.
Stockings over like pants. Also arguably very, very, Bloodborne-esque. Got a masquerade mask, got a smug smirk. She doesn't have like Konami orbs, but has like these kind of like weird gems. It's a good look. But yeah, like Vesper said, this card is a on again, off again side deck tool whenever you want your opponent to not be banishing. Again, we talked about it earlier in the stream. I could see Artifact Lancia, because that's a hand trap that says you can't banish. I could see Lancia going on the list like any day. So Chaos Hunter could come back as a side deck tool because it does a similar effect, but is not a lingering floodgate. Is something you have to actually like utilize. You have to discard one and summon her out, and only works while it's out there. So we kind of continued some of the Chaos themes. There was a Chaos Endmaster is a tuner. For instance, in the 5Ds era, he's not really a Chaos card other than his name, because he's just a light tuner that has some effects. But they kept Chaos's vibe alive, but you can tell they were kind of like burned by how impactful Sed and BLS were. But they decided with Dragon's Collide to really bring this deck together. Starting with the field spell. The field spell. What the field spell? Chaos Zone.
Right, I forgot that's what it was.
Yeah, it's Chaos Zone. It sure looks like a zone of chaos. It's like the like different dimension from cards like Different Dimension Burial and Different Dimension Capsule and shit is just everywhere. It's truly a chaotic zone. Other than that, there's not a lot to say about the card art, but it sure is Chaos Zone up in here.
Yeah, I mean, the card art is cool, but not much to say about what's going on.
Not really indicative, yeah. But that's okay. We'll explain what this does. So, Chaos Zone, by the way, classic field spell. Every time a monster is banished, place a Chaos counter on this card for each of those monsters. Once per turn, remove 4 more Chaos counters from your field. Target one banished monster with a level equal to the number removed. Special summon it. When this card on the field is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, add a lighter dark monster from your deck to your hand whose level is less than or equal to the number of Chaos counters on this card. Obviously, I think this card's not super great now, but when this was printed in 2012, again, just think of the engine this is. Every time a monster is banished, add a Chaos counter for each monster. and then you get to summon back a banished guy equal to the number of counters you removed. Or just your opponent gets rid of it so you can't do the summon. Search a guy, any light or dark monster whose level is less than or equal to the number of counters. Crazy. Like, get 4 counters on this, and think of all the things you can search or summon. God help you if you actually get to, like, the real numbers in Chaos, like 7 or higher. Hell, even 6 would be good. And it lets you recycle from Banish. No, this was a pretty strong field spell for 2012. Also, by the way, I forgot to mention until now, but we talked about, the Infernobles on a recent episode. We mentioned, when that came out, a lot of that stuff was in a structure deck that got imported as Toon Chaos. Guess what? Part of that was Toons, and it was full of a lot of original Toons. The other half was Chaos. It was not Toon Chaos for no reason, so this is the revenge of Toon Chaos. Because you're going to see a lot of Chaos retrains and new Chaos monsters in the back end of this when that set came out. And guess what? Chaos Zone has only ever been printed twice. It was in the structure deck, and it was reprinted in Toon Chaos. Also does mean, by the way, it went 8 years without a reprint.
Yeah.
But still, a solid card, and kind of actually sets up, like we said, the actual Chaos Dragon stuff. So let's talk about the boys in the structure deck. Starting with, alphabetically, one of the cover cards. Dark Flare Dragon. Dark Flare Dragon. So, he's a dragon. That's Dark Flare.
Yeah.
Not really a lot to write home about this design.
Fire hula hoop.
Yeah, he's got kind of a fiery summoning ring around him for the flare. He's got, like, a chest reactor that this is coming out of. He's kind of black and red with some purple highlights. That's good. Doesn't have any arms. Didn't know that until I saw this blown up, but he doesn't have arms. He just has 4 wings. But he's in outer space. Probably the Chaos space.
It's peak 2015 card aesthetics, at least the way they do texture.
I mean, I think it's just in general, this is the digital revamp, because this was 2012.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, this started a little earlier than that. But a Dark Flare is a level 5 Dark Dragon. 2,400 attack, 1,200 defense. Really ramping those stats. And you're going to immediately see, chat, kind of how we've changed the design philosophy. Good?
No, oh, wait.
Okay.
No, this is just a random thing I saw from Red in the chat and being like, maybe Red I should have just been Chaos. Should have just gone to Chaos.
I mean, you could still do, Red Eyes Dark Flare Dragon. We have room. Dark Flare is all one word. So the change in design is you can special summon this card from your hand by banishing a light and a dark. So this card can still be normal summoned and can be special summoned other ways, but still has the Chaos effect. Once per turn, send a dragon from your hand and a dragon from your deck to the graveyard. Target a card in either graveyard, banish it. Once again, this setting up how this deck worked. That's not a cost. Send a dragon from your hand and a dragon from your deck to banish a card in either graveyard. That's pluses, baby. We're plussing. So, you can immediately start to see the direction that this new Chaos Dragon thing is going to go. We want dragons. We presumably want them to be light or dark so we can banish them. But now they're all targets we can send to banish cards. Powerful, powerful stuff. And also an important thing to note that, you didn't actually play, this wasn't played the same way as, Dragon Rulers. But the Dragon Rulers were, what? Are they also 2012? I think so, because I think the progression was D-Ruler into Chaos Dragons.
That sounds right.
Because there you go. There is a page named Dragon Ruler. Thank you. So let's see. Added by Alliance. Oh no, that's the next set is Alliance Insight. When did they premiere? Blaster was Tachyon Galaxy 2013. No, so it was the other way around. Sorry. So it was Chaos Dragons, and then that flowed into Dragon Ruler and kind of back. Because the structure deck would have been out.
Yeah.
So there's some room, there's some overlap there, but obviously because they're not attribute types, it's not as clean as an effect, but still, there was some overlap there in that you had big-ass dragons you were banishing. The bigger version of Dark Flare was Light Pulsar Dragon. So I think Dark Flare kind of like, you know, he's in space, so there's definitely some space stuff. Dark Flare is probably a solar flare because he's got that, like, ring building up around him.
Yeah, that feels right.
Yeah. Light Pulsar is obviously talking about, you know, a pulsar. And I think people have cottoned on that Collapse Serpent and a Wyvern Burster are supposed to probably be kind of like the baby versions of these guys.
Yeah.
So, you know, makes a little sense. We've got that kind of back and forth there. What I like about this guy is that, like, he could be just shooting out rings, but because I am now fully Final Fantasy pilled, I'm just like, we're doing Mega Flares. Like, you know, he's got a big circle in his chest, and it's shooting out little rings of light that are going everywhere. These are homing lasers. We're all gonna die. Still a cool dragon, though. Like, he's got, you know, kind of blue and white, which is the light ray kind of color scheme. He's got a yellow background.
It's a dragon design. I feel like it could have been. It didn't need to be bipedal. It could have been like a quadruped, and it probably would have like not that been much of a difference. Slightly better.
Yeah, but a lot of these guys kind of have the sitting up style. This guy actually has arms. You know, Dark Flare only had wings, but he's looking good. So Light Pulsar is a level 6 Light Dragon with 2,500 attack, 1,500 defense. You can special summon it from your hand by banishing a Light and a Dark from your graveyard. You can also special summon this card from your graveyard by sending a Light and Dark from your hand to the graveyard. So he has a graveyard summon as well, which is pretty strong. When this card's sent from the field to the graveyard, target a level 5 or higher Dark Dragon in your graveyard, special summon it. So Light Pulsar floats. He can summon himself from graveyard or from hand by banishing, sending, etc. You can, use Dark Flare to send him from your deck to summon him back out. Just, you can see we're building an advantage engine here, chat. These guys are doing a lot of binning, searching, summoning, floating. You just build a critical mass of dragons that do stuff. And it's not directly related, but it is kind of related and is also a premier card in that set. And it does have those two guys on it. Dragon's Rebirth. Also, chat mentioning, yes, they did actually print some Red Eye stuff in the structure deck. They had
as per Yu-Gi-Oh's rules, dragons are usually mostly aliens.
Not
Yeah.
really. But there are space dragons. But they reprinted DMD and had both Red Eyes and Blue Eyes in the structure deck because they were light and dark dragons. They reprinted Kaibaman in that deck. That's funny. But yeah, Dragon's Rebirth was a new card in the structure deck. It is a normal trap that says target a dragon you control. Banish it if you do special summon a dragon from your hand or graveyard. It just turns one dragon into a different dragon. I'm pretty sure you would have played it because banishing dragons is good for reasons we're about to talk about. One of the other new cards in that set, or that structure deck. But in general, it was still a pretty strong card. Obviously, I think a normal trap to banish one dragon, summon back a different dragon is not probably worth it today. But it was brand new. It was 2012. We're doing stuff. Here's kind of the big one, the problem one. Eclipse Wyvern. Which, again, was originally printed in Dragons Collide. And was a legal backbone of this deck for many years. It wasn't until well into the Link format that Eclipse got banned.
Yeah.
So, looking at him, it's kind of got the vibes like it is kind of, the combination of Red Eyes and Blue Eyes. Chat was just mentioning this. But it does also have kind of its own unique features. Like, Red Eyes doesn't quite have kind of the red, like, Tron lines. The hat design, almost like the half mask, I guess, because it's only half of its face, is very Red Eyes reminiscent. And...
Hey, Omega.
Yeah.
Since you fought it, reverse the red and silver colors, and this is just Guardian Rathalos.
Yeah, kind of. I want to say the Hot Rod Flames on his wings is like, that wasn't a Red Eyes thing yet, but would become with Flare Metal, which I don't believe was out yet. But yeah, it's kind of got the vibes of several different cards. Killer background work, like with that moon eclipsing level. Oh yeah, Darkness has kind of the Tron lines. But this card is like very iconic for a lot of reasons, which is funny because it's arguably pretty simple. This is another light level 4 dragon with 1600 attack, 1000 defense. So not the exact same stats as Mirage Dragon, but similar. The main effect is, if this card's sent to the graveyard, banish a level 7 or higher lighter Dark Dragon. If this card is banished, add the monster banished by its effect to your hand. So, this card just, when it's sent to the graveyard, for instance, if you're, binning it with something like a Ravine of some kind, or Dark Flare's effect, or you bin to normal and then you send Eclipse with a second. Actually, you can send anything with Dragon Shrine, so just Dragon Shrine send one dragon. It's only if you get a normal, you get a second send. Anyway, there's a lot of ways to send dragons to graveyard. Send this card to graveyard, you get to basically Gold Sark one of your level 7 or higher lighter Dark Dragons. Several of whom have effects when banished. And then, when inevitably you banish Eclipse Wyvern as a light target for a Chaos monster, you get to add back whatever dragon you added. Like, very tight card design.
I kind of dig it.
Yeah.
I mean, if this shit is was disgusting.
Yeah. Well, and also, hey, once again, notice again, chat, no once per turns on any of that shit. You send 3 Eclipse Wyverns to graveyard, which you could do, by the way, for like almost 10 years. Like, this guy went from 3 to 0.
Look, that's how it always is, babe.
Yeah. So like, you like I said, you bin 3 Eclipse Wyverns. That's 3 cards out of your deck. Gold Sark. You start banishing. You start adding shit back. God knows how annoying that must be to judge, by the way. Like, multiple Eclipse Wyvern sends. Like, do you have to specify, okay, I'm banishing the Eclipse Wyvern that's tied to Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, not the one that's tied to Chaos Emperor Dragon. Like, it's very goofy. But like I said, there were some follow-up cards as well. Again, classics of the Dragon Link Chaos Dragon like resource loop, printed only about a year later. The first one is Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. And actually, by the way, this is a rare case where the TCG decided to go back to the color black, because originally this was Ankokuryu Collapse Serpent, so Dark Dragon Collapse Serpent. Probably because, as in like a black hole. Because Collapsar is another term for should say, a black hole-like object. Basically, any star that collapses under its own gravity being called a collapsar. Usually we refer to what the end product is. It either becomes a white dwarf or a black hole.
It reminds me of some astrophysics stuff of being technically, in theory, no information is ever lost, truly. So, like, a black hole is weirdly like a storage thing of basically cosmic information in a weird way.
Yeah. Well, because, like E equals MC squared, energy and mass can't be destroyed, so you apply that to quantum ideas where information is also a, like, thing that is transmittable. That also means that information can't be destroyed. But information can't leave a black hole because of how that works. So it's weird. Black holes do die, though, in case you didn't know that one, chat. They are technically not forever. There's a thing called Hawking radiation where they basically slowly bleed energy and mass by just accidentally generating particles because of all the cosmic shit going on just outside their event horizon. But yeah, Black Dragon Collapse Serpent, sick as hell, iconic. You want to talk about, like, even though again this is only 2013, but like modern Yu-Gi-Oh card shading, like this clearly has it. Where, like, the color palette has changed a little. But he's got the orange and black of Dark Flare. While still having enough of his own unique design, he can kind of stand on his own. Again, backdrop, sick as hell.
Yeah, these cards look great.
Yeah. Actually, fuck it. Let's
Worth
they're a
installing.
pair. Let's pull up Wyverburster's art too. I want to say that Wyverburster's art looks much more like a baby light pulsar. But yeah, that's him pulled up. Burster in this case probably means an X-ray burst, which is as identified with things like pulsars, quasars, like other big X-ray effects, which are associated with, the various star bodies. Which is what he's shooting is that's a quasar, or an illustration of what we think a quasar is like, of like two poles of huge X-ray emissions. We've done an interesting thing with the color scheme on Wyverburster, where like he's got like magma lines now, and kind of only one blue. But I don't hate it. They're both, like I said, sick looking.
I kind of dig it because you have the white and blue firmly contrasts the black and orange.
Yeah.
You kind of have the red accent with the purple.
So, Collapse Serpent is a Dark Dragon level 4 that's 1817, I believe. Let me double check. Wyverburster is 1718. Yeah. And is a White Dragon level 4. Collapse Serpent can't be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned first from your hand by banishing one light. You can only special summon it once per turn this way, so they're remembering once per turns now. But when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, add Wyverburster. Wyverburster is very similar. You summon it by banishing one dark. You can only special summon once this turn. If it's sent from the field to the graveyard, add Black Dragon. So, these guys, once again, much like Eclipse Wyvern, were perfectly fine until the Link era, where sending a card from field to graveyard got really easy. And even then, they lived through early Links. It wasn't until 2019. Specifically, I want to say the Guard Dragon stuff, because those are, Link 1s. But still, just level 4s that are real easy to special summon. They search each other when they're sent from field to graveyard. If you link them off, if you tribute them, whatever. And they just form a tight little resource loop, because that you can only special summon once per turn, but that search is not once per turn. And they don't necessarily, how do I say, they don't not overlap. So you could, go through the whole combo, send, Black Dragon to grave, search Wyver Burster, immediately summon Wyver Burster off Collapse Serpent. Sorry, I've dropped something on the floor. Hold on. Specifically, I dropped my little lucky cat statue, so I wanted to make sure I didn't accidentally trot on it. Anyway, so yeah, you can summon Wyver Burster by banishing Collapse Serpent, and then search a new Collapse Serpent if you remove it, which is why, again, to this day, they're both limited, because they're just a... in the TCG. In Master Duel, I think they're both unlimited, and in the OCG, they're also unlimited. But they form a tight resource loop that cycles back and forth. And while still being, lights and darks themselves, they're dragons, they're both level 4, so you can set up rank 4 plays. Just a lot of really classic stuff you can go back and forth. Now, here's an odd one that was not directly related to the archetype, but this is a relevant dragon. Was printed in Order of Chaos, the core set. So kind of chaos themed, and was explicitly called out by one of those whatchamacallit, like, hey, you can improve your structure deck with these cards from boosters, right? And that is Darkstorm Dragon. I'll let Chat and the boys have a second to look at him once he comes on stream. Sip some water.
Yeah, always. This is just Kushala de Aura. Hold on.
It looks kind of like if
Grab an image
Gandora
for
took
Omega.
steroids.
I remember this guy for weird reasons.
So yeah, this is an oddball guy, but Order of Chaos was the core booster that had a couple of cards in it that were relevant. It had Interplanetary Purpley Thorny Dragon, who I would say is probably a not directly a Chaos Dragon, but is a Dark Dragon who has an easy summon effect. Had Apocryph in it, a couple of cards like that. Yeah, I mean, arguably the... Oh, this just showed me a Monster Hunter monster. Arguably, that's just a like, fairly generic dragon, which I want to say Darkstorm also is too. But he's got a little extra character. But he does have a terrible windstorm around him. He's got weird wings. So, Darkstorm Dragon is a weird guy because he's a Gemini. This is a Gemini monster, but was called out because it is a Dark Dragon level 8. 2,700 attack, 2,500 defense. Treat it as a normal monster while on the field or in the graveyard. You can normal summon it to have an effect monster. Its effect text is send a face-up spell trap you control to the graveyard to destroy all spell trap cards on the field. It's okay. It's called Darkstorm because guess what? It's a heavy storm. Conditionally. This was reprinted in the Blue Eyes structure deck later, but like I said, was recommended for Dragons Collide as like a card you can add. We also have another weird little guy that got put out, which is kind of a fusion of the two dragons. And now hold on for the name of this card, chat. This is Dwarf Star Dragon Planeteer. Or technically Planeter, because there's not two E's. Captain Planeter. Yeah, he's a little goofy.
Oh. Huh. Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like Dark Flare and Light Pulsar fused together. It's got one, glowing solar fire half, one dark half. Even the background's kind of weirdly split. This guy did get reprinted in Toon Chaos. That's how you know he's relevant. But no, this is a Light Dragon level 4 that has 1700 attack and 1200 defense, and it says once per turn during the end phase, if this card was normal summon this turn, add a level 7 light or dark monster from your deck to your hand. This wasn't printed until 2016, until Shining Victory, so not that great. But, like, clearly is, kind of obviously in theme. And also, by the way, we should mention, because it also banishes a dragon. Darkness Metal Dragon was a key component of this core deck originally. We're not talking about it because we did a huge ass Red Eyes episode that you can look that up. But
yeah.
the other kind of elements that brought Chaos Dragon deck together was obviously you would play millers, like classic millers, like Light Sworns. If you want to do the dark stuff, you could set up. Actually, no, I think he's light. Yeah, Dante's a light warrior, but you could play stuff like the generic like tour guide shit to make Dante as a generic. Because Dante is a miller and he's also a light.
Yeah, I mean, Chaos just had, like we've just been hammering home. It just has so much length to all of its just generic plays.
Yeah.
On top of it, like I said, it all linking into Dragon Play too, which is infinitely easy to mill down and just
milling dragons is easy. And like I said, the Chaos Dragon deck like brought back some old favorites because Light Pulsar was a 6. And Chaos Sorcerer is a 6. Yes, you brought back Chaos Sorc, and also you brought back Caius the Shadow Monarch, because those were 6s that you could then use to get into Constellar Ptolemy M7 as a rank 6. Like you don't have to rank that up off a Constellar. You can just hard make it in 6s to do its detach bounce effect, which puts lights and darks in graveyard. Like it's just a deck that had so much of a tail. So Dwarf Star Dragon was obviously kind of like part of that vibe, but was a little too late. I want to say I think part of the reason why Chaos Dragon fell out of favor because I want to say primarily Pendulum just completely flipped the script, and in 2015 Tour Guide got limited, which meant you couldn't do Tour Guide, 3-star plays into Dante as easily. You would, Dante was a light. You would detach to mill a shitload of cards so that you could then set up for chaos plays, etc. So there were a few things that they kind of phased in and out of. A Planeter I feel like was a little too late. But one thing they did do, which we've talked about a few of these guys before, but haven't talked about this. There was a run of Shonen Jump promos that were retraining the classic Forbidden Dragons. So this is responsible for, well, first of all, on the Red Eyes episode, we talked about Darkness Metal, the Dragon of Dark Steel, the Link monster version of this, who was came out way later, like in 2019. But he's not great. Remember, that's a Link 4 that's 2+ effect monster, the same type and attribute. That can special summon monsters that are banished from your graveyard to a zone it points to, but locks you out of Link summoning for the rest of the field.
The Superboss recolor of CED.
Yeah, so this is Chaos Emperor, the Dragon of Armageddon, who is the Pendulum retrain of said. The other dragons in that series was Fusion Trish, Purple Trish, who is a Contact Fusion who's really weird. There's also the Synchro Judgment Dragon retrain, Judgment Dragon of Heaven, who may come back. And also Dark Armed Dragon of Annihilation, who is a generic rank 7, who also shows up a lot in decks like this. But Chaos Emperor Dragon of Armageddon, the Pendulum guy, is also one of those cards that just shows up in weird decks sometimes.
Yeah.
So, because he's got the same stats as Sed. He's a level 8 Dark Dragon with 3k attack, 2500 defense. He's also, as mentioned, a Pendulum monster. He's a 1 scale, so he's a low scale. His Pendulum effect is pay 1,000, target one of your banished dragons, destroy this card. If you do, add that monster to your hand. You only use this effect once per turn. Which, like, as a Pendulum scale effect, crazy good. There's lots of decks that's good in. To loop back a banished dragon. But also, its normal effect is can't be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand or extra deck. So, hey, guess what? You can summon him if you use that pop effect. Scale him, pay 1, pop, summon back by banishing a light and dark from your graveyard. You can only special summon once per turn this way, that guy. So we've learned our lesson. You can pay half your LP, send as many cards as you control to the graveyard, except from the EMZ. Yeah, so this was like early Link era, was when we did this as... Actually, no, this was a prize card first, that's right. Was it a jump promo first? No, it was in premium pack in Japanese. Oh, no, okay, sorry, I just realized. There was actually a literally 20th anniversary legendary dragon. So for the 20th anniversary, they did a promo pack, which was just the first 4 of those bozos. In, like, 2018 for the 20th year. But you can pay off your LP, send as many cards you control except for the EMZ. If you do so, send cards your opponent controls to the graveyard up to the number of cards you sent to the graveyard, then inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each card sent to their graveyard by this effect. If this face-up special summon card leaves the field, return it to the bottom of the deck. So he loops back into your deck and still has a more fair and balanced version of the send effect. And like I said, this guy just shows up in one-off decks because it lets you, like I said, scale him, pay 1, get back a banished dragon. That puts him in face-up extra, where you can just banish a light and a dark to summon him back, and then he's just a level 8 dark dragon asshole. Who also could possibly be a board wipe. And then, to kind of round this out a little, we added a new big chaos guy. And technically, this was part of a series, though, which we will talk about, of weird dark dragons who have weird summoning effects and all have kind of the same naming format. The first one is the one you all know from Chaos decks and eventually from Dragon Link. Axe mentioned it before as one of the ones he remembers. Chaos Dragon Levianeer.
Here we go.
Yeah.
One of the card covers for Prisonic Art Collection, probably named after Leviathan. Its full name in Japanese is Chaos Origin Dragon Levianeer. And, yeah. He's kind of got the Chaos vibe you'd expect.
It just looks a bit older than me, but I like it a lot.
I think some of his pose is a little weird because I think he's scrunching up his arms and legs to fit in the card frame, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
but
it also feels like it's energy just with a metal frame.
He looks pretty good. You know, he's got the energy lines. He's got a big frame. He's got a Keaton or unicorn horn, a shitload of regular horns. There's a black hole behind him, which is also like exploding with light. Purple lightning. Who doesn't love purple lightning? And this guy was a big deal when he came out because he kind of freed up, you know, again, kind of what we thought, like, Chaos would do. And again, this asshole has been around for forever. We always talk about, you know, budget entries to Yu-Gi-Oh! This guy got a common, like a normal reprint in the Albaz Strike structure deck. That's the structure deck Mirror Jade is on the cover of. Another deck that is just like, hey, welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Here's a simple structure deck. You buy 3 of these, you're set, bub. So Levianeer is a Dark Dragon 8, 3,000 attack, 0 defense. He does have an alt art I could pull up, which is just an even lower angle shot, so you can kind of like see him silhouetted differently. Chaos Dragon Levianeer says he can't be normal summoned or set. He must be special summoned from your hand by banishing 3 light and or dark monsters from your graveyard. So 3 total monsters, light that are and or dark. When summoned this way, you can activate an effect. Apply one of the effects based on the attributes banished, but it can't attack for the rest of this turn. If you banish only lights, special summon a monster from your graveyard in defense position. If you banish only darks, shuffle 1 random card from your opponent's hand into the deck. And the effect that you usually did, both lights and darks destroy up to 2 cards on the field. Non-targeting destruction, by the way. You can use this effect once per turn. So, Levianeer is just like a reimagining of, like, I think what the Chaos Boys can do, right? You have to banish 3, but they can be lights or darks, so you can play them in mono-type decks. And, it just, you know, you have very strong effects. This sort of thing, where it's like, does different things based on the lights and darks you're using, shows up a lot in the Chaos Synchro stuff that we're not talking about today, maybe later, but we've been going for like 2 hours already, and that's like,
Damn.
you know, 10 more cards. All right, chat also said they like the alt art, so I'll pull it up. It's a more dynamic shot, like a different angle of the same shot, basically. But it is in maximum gold, and I do believe I own that version of Chaos Dragon Levianeer. I don't remember if it's the alt art or not. But it's a cool one. So like I said, this kind of, like I said, modernizes the Chaos design. You do have to banish 3, which I have said several times, but it mixes and matches lights or darks. Means that you could play it in a mono-type deck or a mono-attribute deck where you couldn't previously. But also, just in general, like, if you're actually playing it in a Chaos deck, which you often did, he's just non-targeting pop 2, you know? Which is very strong. And also, arguably, now that they needed it, the only dark effect is way better. This guy is also a dark, so if you're playing mono-type dark, just shuffle a random card in your opponent's hand into the deck, just fucking... not quite forceful Sentry them, but you know what I mean, like hand rip 1. Strong, mean, painful. This guy's been reprinted a lot, and again, you will see him in... where previously, if you were playing light and dark decks, right, you would see a card like BLS, you now see Levianeer. But Levianeer is part of, like I said, what the wiki calls this mythical dragon, but he's part of a series of dragons that are all dark, and they all kind of came out around the same time, and all have some very interesting kind of like different, I want to say, meta stuff. Like, they're part of different like generic dragon deck combos. And you'll probably get what I mean by this set when I reveal to you the second card in this set, the Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. Yeah, I should, because I actually like what they did with Chaos Synchro. I could probably do a Chaos episode as like a poll choice or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now we're talking about like the Dragons Collide structure deck and kind of how that turned into a Chaos Dragons deck. But yeah, Phantasme. He also has an alt art, which I also think looks arguably better. I know it's just like him from like the reverse angle, but the default angle is kind of odd. Okay, we have like a tiny baby thumbnail. I think this is someone just cropped a photo scan, but we'll work with it. You can still, I think, see my point that I think the alt art's a little more dynamic. Actually, let me order them this way and then re-configure them. But he's a purple and gold dragon with some blue highlights because he's got some gems on him, and he's got energy blades and energy wings. He is super anime. And you've probably seen this guy because this is another common side deck card. Phantasme is a level 7 Dark Dragon with 2400 attack and 1800 defense. And specifically says if your opponent special summons a Link monsters, except during the damage step, summon this card from your hand, draw cards equal to the number of Link monsters your opponent controls, +1, so minimum draw 2 cards. Then shuffle cards from your hand into the deck equal to the number of Link monsters they control. So he is a hand fix effect. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a monster you control, quick effect, discard 1, negate the activation, destroy it. So kind of a Prime Material Dragon revamp as well. You know, when your opponent targets a monster, you can use each effect once per turn. So he is a targeting negation, he hand fixes, and he's just a free body of a 7, a Dark Dragon level 7. Gee, that won't ever be relevant, chat, if your opponent's Link summoning. Yeah, I mentioned the wings, but he also has like an energy mohawk. Like, this guy is real tryhard, but it's cheesy enough that I still like it. Like, it's not, as we say these days, cringe. But I definitely look at him and go, this guy's a little dorky. But he's trying his hardest. But yes, Phantasme is like an eternal side deck card if your opponent's playing a lot of Links to just like give you an extra body, give you a form of interaction, and technically lets you go positive in card advantage because you're always drawing the number of Link monsters they control +1, and then you shuffle back a number of cards. So if your opponent just summons their like first Link monster, you just draw 2, shuffle back 1. Pretty typical hand fix stuff. But the next one of these guys, and you may, again, chat, you may not have realized these guys were technically related, but they all came out in 2018. The next one is Iron Dragon Tiamaton, who is still a dragon.
Hey, look at this one.
Yeah.
This guy.
Tiamaton is, you know, a little smaller, as befitting the fact that this is actually a smaller critter, has lower stats, but is kind of a robo-dragon. Does have Konami orbs, unfortunately, but, you know, they're a robot dragon, so that's how it is.
I love the fucking... I love the line. I love the column dragon.
Yeah, this is just another funny little guy. I like the design of it, like, very clearly a dragon, but also clearly robotic. Is exploding from, like, a Supercell thunderstorm thing with more purple lightning. But also, you know, everybody sip your drink, you know, put another quarter in the jar. This still has, I want to say, enough of a toyetic look to it. Like, this looks like a figure you could get and pose on your mantle. In a way that, obviously, I think that, for instance, Levianeer would not work. But Tiamaton, whose name is Iron Cavalry Dragon Tiamaton in the OCG, Tekiryu, is a Dark Dragon level 4 with 2000 attack, 0 defense. Can't be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned by the following effect. If 3 or more cards are in the same column, quick effect, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, destroy all other cards in this column. Neither player can use the unused zones in the column. And also, its summon condition is only once per turn. So, Tiamaton is basically a card similar to Mech Knights, but it's like a Turbo Mech Knight. Tiamaton is not really like Phantasme is a like side deck card for when you're facing Link heavy decks. Levianeer goes in Chaos decks, obviously. Tiamaton doesn't really have a home anywhere other than like there are a handful of decks that incentivize you to play monsters in extra columns. Um, but it has that very funny lockout effect, and it's still a 2K level 4 Dark Dragon, so like it's one of those monsters that like you will see in weird places of just like, oh yeah, this deck could play Diabaton.
Neat.
And next is a guy whose like name you occasionally hear mentioned, but probably have not seen a lot, which is a shame because I think this card art's pretty cool. Mana Dragon, Zirnitron, Magicrista Dragon, Zidras in the OCG.
I mean,
And
okay.
Oh, that's cool. It looks familiar, but it's fucking cool looking.
Okay, hold on. There's a Digimon that looks like this. Let me go find it.
there probably is a Digimon that looks like this.
Okay.
But this guy's covered in magical crystals. There are a bunch of different colors. This means he is asymmetrical, but in a neat way. He still has lightning behind him, and he's definitely doing his final ultimate boss attack with all of his triangles in circles. And also hexagrams.
Okay, here we go. Tiny image. I don't know why. Thanks.
The internet's like
Digimon
that
Portrayal.
sometimes. Yeah, no, Zernatron, Tiabaton, like, they're all named after mythological figures. They all have the same, like, name format, X-Dragon, so on. And like I said, oh yeah, that fucking guy.
For you Digimon fans, I've showed in the group chat on Discord, Lucamon Saturn / Shadow Lord mode.
Yeah, this fucking asshole. He does look a lot like that. Let me... I don't know if this is transparent, but I bet I can copy this image. But yeah, no. Like I said, all these dragons came out in like 2018-ish, depending on like when the OCG and TCG got around to importing them, and they're all kind of together. So yeah, Zernatron is a Dark Dragon level 6, 2200 attack, 1200 defense. If a spell trap you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect and is now in the graveyard or banished, special summon this card from your graveyard, if it was there when the spell trap left, or hand, even if not. You can set a spell trap that's banished from your graveyard to the spell trap zone. You can only use each effect of Zernatron once per turn. If summoned this way, banish it when it leaves the field. Zernatron's another card that, like I said, you occasionally hear about him. Just if you're playing decks that will be using, like, certain spell traps. It's really hard to count on this because it's an opponent's card effect. Like, if this just said that, like, if a spell trap, you know, left your field in your graveyard or banished, I'd play this fucker in, probably in White Forest as Amina to just recycle spell traps. I think I saw this guy in, like, Witchcrafter Brews back in the day because, again, it fetches a spell trap. But he's just a weird body, and it's a shame that, like, his effect is a little niche because, as Axe mentioned, this guy's cool. Like, he's just cool looking. It is very funny to wombo combo with Return of Red Eyes. I think the, like, one-off Dark Dragons I play in Red Eyes, like, for Xyz plays was, like, Noctovision Dragon, because that's a 7. And Rockets / Borals / just Dragon Link did actually play some Red Eyes packages back in the day. Like, occasionally you would actually play like a Red Eyes Black Dragon and like some wombo combos of some other cards along with DMD to just like get extra bodies. And the last one, which some of you may recall, Axe did actually mention by name earlier, is another one of those little side deck guys. And I'm not sure how they came up with this guy's name in the TCG, but you know him as Omni Dragon Brotar. But this guy's name in the OCG is Yoseiryu Rabaru, which means Bewitching Awakening. That's right, they did 2 back-to-back ings. Dragon Larbalar.
Larbalar.
Yes. Larbal Aurur. So Omni Dragon Brotar is, I think, the localization department just threw up their hands and went, I don't fucking know, man. Brotar is another guy that you've also probably seen because he is very useful for linking. You can tell that he's on the smaller side because he's kind of chibi-fied.
He's a baby.
Yeah. He's got, like, vibes that I think are similar to cards like Zernatron and Levianeer. Because he's got, like, a little weird magical circle under him. He's got blue fire. He's got kind of a color scheme. He's doing, like, the fucking slash across the face awakening thing. But this is a Dark Dragon level 1 with 0/0 that says, if a monster you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, especially some of this card from the graveyard if it was there, or the hand if not, but banish it when it leaves the field. If this card's special summoned, target a face-up monster on the field. Discard a card. If you do, add 1 monster from your deck to your hand with the same type and attribute as that target, but a different name. Each effect only once per turn. So Brotar is just a free body who searches you an extra guy. Is banished when it leaves the field, but just generally makes extra bodies. Yeah, he's like a baby Levianeer in, like, art style, but has, like I said, like the special effects of, like, Zernatron. Has some
He's just extension.
Yeah. And like I said, with these guys who are all coming out in, like, 2018, 2019, all of these X-Dragon something, which, to recap, because Vesper was muted for a while, is Levianeer, Phantasme, Tiamaton, Zernatron, Brotar.
Yeah.
Are all kind of like a little series of guys that were peppered out. And I want to say that they're probably, like, when the shift happened of this deck from Chaos Dragon to Dragon Link. Though, obviously, Levianeer is, like, a card that is put in anything that's vaguely Chaos-typed these days. Like,
Yeah,
he has become the new BLS.
Like, Dragon Dot deck has always existed in Yu-Gi-Oh! It
Will
just
exist
it
until
never
Yu-Gi-Oh!
dies.
dies. Yeah, they
It
can't
never
stop
dies.
printing dragons.
It is
He definitely
reborn.
knows.
It is reborn in different typings, even to the point where, it's just a funny example. When Rush Duel started, the best deck was dragons because why? Of course it is. It's dragons.
Yeah.
Dra-
And they had a
Dragons
rival
always
who had a
beat.
dragon theme.
Yeah. Which was the better deck.
So yeah, and so yes, dragon decks will just always be good, and so those 5 guys kind of, like, started the rotation.
Dragon is so good. We've had to have made, like, 3 different sub dragon archetypes to dump more dragon typings into.
Yeah. And then kind of the final point on this, the bullet point that, like, when this deck like we truly went around, I think, back to, like, Chaos Dragon 2.0. In 2020, in Rise of the Duelist, which had a lot of stuff in it, they printed Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. Konton Maryu, Chaos Rura.
This guy will surely never cause any problems ever, right?
Yeah.
And many people probably recognize this guy from this image because they gave this guy an animation in Master Duel for a reason, and Master Duel came out basically just as this guy was banned in real life. It was released in 2020, banned in mid-22 in real life. So, like, Master Duel's about 3 years old now, so, like, literally there's a little bit of overlap, and was legal in Master Duel for quite a while. And this guy just stuck around for a long time. And this is one of those cards that I'm like, I don't know if this ever comes back.
Like, in some far off future, I could see it coming back, but not anytime soon.
No.
Legalize chaos bombs.
This guy is, like I said, iconic. He's doing a weird hand thing. He's got a little shiny star in his face. He's got like a weird big head like Levianeer, but it's cool because he's got a lot of different horns. He's got a big ring behind his wings. Spikes everywhere.
It's Scream's final boss.
Yeah. Konami orbs, like, he's got all kinds of stuff going on for him. He's, like, shattering the card background behind him.
If this guy was summoned in a duel, the entire thing is that basically reality breaks and he comes out the fucking portal.
Yeah. So, this is a level 8 Dark Dragon Synchro. 3k attack, 2500 defense. Now, you may ask yourself, oh, Omega, you talked about Chaos Synchros, right? So he must require Light and Dark monsters. No. This is a
Why?
completely generic Sync 8. If this card is Synchro summoned...
And not like a 10 or a 12.
Also, yes, he's at 8. He is the like, iconic Synchro scale. I want to say that, like, 7s and 8s, because of the Signer Dragons, is, like, the Synchro numbers. If this card is Synchro summoned, excavate 5 cards off the top of your deck. If you do, add 1 light or dark monster to your hand, send the remaining to graveyard. What's wrong with this, chat? It's not the add 1 light or dark. No.
It's just painful choice, but on your own terms.
I mean, it's not quite painful choice because it's not any 5 cards, but it's... They say excavate 5. No. This is mill 4, add 1 of those to your hand, which is crazy. Like, honestly, this card would probably not be a problem if it said excavate 5, like, pick 1 to send from that 5 to graveyard, shuffle the rest back. The fact that it's mill 5, stupid. We were talking about tier limits format earlier. Like, I don't think this guy, let's see, late 2022?
Like, I think the main things being 4 and 8 and sometimes 6s is just because you can make it out of like a 4 and a 3 or a 4 and a 4.
Okay, sorry, I understood what you said. You goofed your grammar up a little there, saying 4 and 8s. Sync 4s is super rare, but
I said 4 and an 8. I said 4 and a 4. Sorry. And
yeah.
A. Sorry.
But yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing though, right? Like, generic level 4 tuners was restricted for a super long time because 8s were so good. I feel like they kind of decided that just for the sake of how it works, like, the people making, like, 5Ds were like, okay, Stardust Dragon and Red Dragon and Archfiend are gonna be an 8. And then, like, because those cards were good, kind of shaped the game around it. But now, like I said, 8s and 7s are kind of the iconic numbers because of those Signer Dragons. The fact that 4 and 4 makes 8 is probably why 8s have stayed that way. Similar for, like, how rank 4s are kind of the iconic Xyz rank.
Mm-hmm. Like we've definitely expanded more iconic ranks as of late, but 4 is like the prototype of, like, it's just always been good, it will always be good.
Yeah. And I think Sync 8 works in a similar way, but not always. Like White Forest, as half of White Forest as Amina, their thing is 6s into 8s. Like, they do 2 and 4 into a 6, which is a synchro tuner into an 8. And the Azamina half has a similar climb with fusion 6s, 8s, etc. And then, like I said, somebody in Konami smoking crack because, like, the third leg of that deck is supposed to involve fiends somewhere, ideally level 6 or higher fiends, which is technically Goblin Bikers, but, like, you're not gonna play the level 6 Goblin Biker just to fuse some Azamina fusions, guys. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll do that.
It's almost like Konami knew that Fiendsmith, the level 6 Light Fiend, was gonna be a thing. So, you play Fiendsmith and Azamina White Forest Fiendsmith instead. Because it goes together really well because Fiendsmith also makes fusion 6s of fiends. It's funny how that works out. But yeah, Chaos Ruler is like just an annoying guy because it's just, why does he mill 4? He mills 4 and you get to add 1 of those lights or darks to your hand. It's dumb. It's a can, by the way. You don't have to actually do it. It can just be mill 5. It's crazy.
Yeah, mill 5 is insane. It's crazy. Like you said, speaking of tier limit, just summoning this guy in tier format was not even a combo starter. It was an atom bomb.
Yeah, because guess what? The way his effect is phrased is excavate 5, add a light or dark. All the tier element names except for Rhino Heart are dark, so you can add one you want in your hand, like Havness for the hand trap effect.
You're truly
Then-
utilizing chaos bombs.
Then send the remaining cards to graveyard, which triggers all your tier elements.
Yeah.
And then that's not the worst part, chat. Well, that is actually the worst part. That's the most annoying part of his effect. But guess what? He has more text.
More text.
You can banish a light or dark monster from your hand or graveyard except this card, special summon it from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. So his mill effect is only on Synchro Summon, but this is still a level 8 3k body who gets to recur. Just banish a light or dark monster and you can summon back a 3k guy.
He comes back. Why not? He just comes back.
And that is again why this guy is like basically banned everywhere and will probably stay banned forever unless they do like errata him to be shuffle back instead. Which honestly, Konami probably won't. They'll probably just print a different level 8 guy.
They'll just print a replacement.
Yeah.
It's weaker.
And arguably have, because I believe Chaos Archfiend is the 8 synchro in the Chaos synchro package. And as mentioned in chat, requires the Chaos typing, like requires light or dark non-tuners or tuners. This is just a case of like, this is the most 2020 pilled card design ever of just like, fuck it, it's 2020. Generic Sync 8. You won't play this outside of Chaos. Why would you? You're adding lights and darks. You want a mill 5. Like, and just, and like usual, it didn't come back to bite them right away, but it did bite them a couple years later when they, like, made, self-mill lights and darks, sending them to graveyard, a really strong strategy.
Yeah. Look, they set up the they set up the rake, walked 100 feet away, and then forgot about it for about a year.
Yeah.
Then they kept walking forward. It whacked the face right into it when they made Tillman.
Yeah. And obviously, I think that's just kind of the story of the way Yu-Gi-Oh's card design works, because we do exist in the eternal format, where, yes, technically because of the ban list and because of new product, Yu-Gi-Oh will rotate through stuff, but, like, without the ban list to restrict old cards can always come back. Like, genuinely?
We've seen it. Smoke Grenade of the Thief and Infernoble. That there's almost always just a card like that.
I mean, literally,
shows up
we
every
just
once in a
talked
while.
about the two little dragons, Wyvern Burster and Collapse Serpent.
Those cards
and
can't be at any more than
Eclipse
one.
Wyvern. Those guys didn't get hit until Link era, but guess what? Because of the advent of the Link 1, Wyvern Burster and Collapse Serpent are crazy advantage.
Yeah, you have to like it's like you said, yeah, like it's the beginning of the the proper transition of just Chaos Dragon just makes infinite materials, so we can just link summon forever. So we just have Dragon Link.
Yeah, and like talking earlier about like the the quote unquote the skill of the tier format. If you unlimited and unbanned the Ishizu Shufflers today, they'd be back. They'd be back in decks. If you unhit tier limit names, they'll be back. Like literally, people would bust out the tier limit.
Yeah.
Would full power tier limits automatically zero out the decks today that are good? I don't know.
I think the problem always just comes down to the engine surrounding tier limits to mill.
Yeah, and obviously because tier limits in the TCG was kind of broken up, Chaos Ruler was kind of killed because that was what we called Casino tier. Same reason why Curious got hit, where that was pre-Ishizu, because those took a while to come out because of product delays and shuffling. So the original way you played tier limit in the TCG was you played every single stupid idiot card that milled, and you just milled a bunch of cards and hoped you high roll. That's why we called it Casino tier. When you add the Ishizu element to it, because those guys send and can shuffle back, you build a much more robust engine of sending guys, shuffling guys, rushing it out. But Chaos Ruler is just like a big pinion on this, and just he becomes kind of the coda of you know, what Dragon Link could do with just a couple of tunas. We still haven't done rockets or borals ever, but we will someday, and then you will understand kind of like why they form the backbone of Dragon Link as well.
Yeah, and even then, like, Chaos Ruler was still an incredible card outside of Dragon decks, like we mentioned, just where it's mill 5.
Yeah, any
It's
deck
up
that
there.
can make
It
eights
just get you an insane amount of advantage.
where you might hypothetically want to add a light or dark, yeah, it's just, you know, crazy good. So he's probably staying dead forever. And it's a funny case to, like, because I feel like this is the climax of the Chaos Dragon, like, idea, this kind of as the endpoint, but I like it as the endpoint because I had originally put some notes of, like Toon Chaos had a bunch of other Chaos support, like they had the Chaos Creator, Chaos Daedalus, etc., like new Chaos versions of guys that kind of, like, were previously the Dark and Dark Ray versions. But honestly, like I said, I probably want to do a separate Chaos episode and kind of talk about the evolution of Synchro Chaos.
That's fair. There's at least like 12 cards there.
Yeah, that's got a strong, like, backbone, and there's probably a few more cards that people haven't thought about in a while in there.
Yeah.
And we're almost at 3 hours, so I think it's a good point to cut off with just this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ended on this guy, asshole.
So I'll probably put Chaos in a poll.
This
This
is definitely like another generational card. Like, I think Chaos Ruler would definitely be seen as just like another another iconic Chaos fucker.
Yeah, he like I said, this is why I was like, I apologize if I scare anybody, like, cause like I said, he's got a Master Duel animation and was legal in Master Duel for like a fucking year on his own. So, just, he's a guy that you see, and, like, I think he has that instinctive, oh, brother reaction. Like, if you watch MBT's dual-taning, you know, the you reaction. You just look at this guy and go, oh fuck, it's this guy. Great. It's your opponent summons Chaos Ruler, and you're like, oh, shit, what are we in for?
Yeah.
You know, so and that is a similar reaction, I think, to Set in BLS. He has become a distinctive guy who will not be coming out of jail. So I'll probably put Chaos.
He may not have had he may not have had that long a life, but he definitely made an impact when it was needed.
And he was still around for like 2 years. You know, he was lurking for a long time.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think this is why the TCG tried to, because a lot of those Chaos monsters were like world premieres, right, in Toon Chaos, or were like weird promos that were imported. I think that's why we were trying to make that work, because we were like, oh, there's this Chaos guy. We've done a lot of stuff with, like, Levianeer. We can make this work. It didn't really work. Like, Chaos hasn't actually ever truly come back. But there's enough Chaos guys that we could make a separate episode to talk about. So I'll probably throw that on a Patreon poll. It is a new month. We gotta rig up a new poll. I'll figure it out this week. But that means that next week's episode, everybody strap the fuck in, and it might take us 2 episodes at that rate. But the next structure deck was the Blue Eyes structure deck, which catapulted Blue Eyes to being meta with a little bit of help over the years. And it's a perfect time to talk about that. Because a second Blue Eyes structure deck has come out and made Blue Eyes meta for the first time in a couple of years, at least.
A second Blue Eye structure has hit the meta.
It's true. It did actually happen. And that would coincide with the timing to be next week's episode. So it really works out because the structure deck is out now. You know, we've just talked about Chaos Dragons, which included a couple of Blue Eyes reprints in Dragons Collide.
We'll be talking about dragons until the day we die when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! They'll always make more.
They're always gonna be here.
I mean, we didn't talk about the cards, but literally talked about there is the new that fusion archetype in the deck build pack called literally Dragon Tail, which is, guess what? Dragons and spellcasters. And it's probably going to be good.
I can't believe it.
A fusion archetype about dragons? No, say it ain't so. So yeah, we'll be back with more. Tomorrow we should be back on for 14. Going to do the little Ladies' Day event, and also probably hopefully get some Moogle Tombstone grind in. Depending on who's around, we might do some deep dungeon stuff, but otherwise we'll just be grinding it out, so we'll see you there. I'm going to wrap up the stream now and go back to playing Monster Hunter. So I'll
Good
talk
night,
to you guys
everybody.
later. Yeah, good night. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, support us on Patreon, etc., etc. Goodbye, boys.
Oh.